How many do we have?
You have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. Hi, John. Okay, so we've got a quorum. Let's go right ahead and get started. And as people join us, we'll work forward from that. Okay, call this meeting to order. It is now 6:04 with a quorum. We're ready to roll. A couple of housekeeping things, and as we go through the agenda, I have moved things around a little bit so that we can facilitate working our way through the process. And so, housekeeping, everybody got the conflict of interest statement sent out by Sylvia this afternoon. And I'm assuming everybody has read it and is in agreement. Basically, what it just says is that we are all going to be acting independently, assessing all of the proposals. We're avoiding conflicts of interest. We're maintaining confidentiality in what we're doing and destroying application materials after we're done with this whole process. Because what is the finished product is what we want to be able to take to the community. And I'm going to ask very clearly that as we go out of here in this meeting, this is our committee meeting, we can discuss things. We're going to look at pros, we're going to look at cons, things we like, things we don't like. But once we make a decision for the committee, we will go forward as a united committee. Because really, to make it successful, to make our business partners believe what we're giving them is the best, we have to do that. So I'm asking that as a thing for us as professionals, and we all have our own backgrounds and our professionals in whatever area we're in. Okay, let me see. Let's see, that was it for here. Again, I said I'm going to change the agenda around just a little bit. Sylvia, is Nicole here yet?
I do not see Nicole.
Okay, can you buzz her up and ask her, or just?
I will.
Okay, thank you. We're going to allow Nicole to come on. She is the CEO and a creative director of Wahine Creative. And instead of making her sit through this whole process with what we're going to be discussing, I said, let's get her on, get her taken care of. And I do have something to say to committee members. On the date that we were going to have the brainstorming session, you all remember I sent out an email to everybody saying, if you can attend, get with Sylvia. If you can't attend, get your ideas to me so we can share them with Nicole. Well, I was informed that it was not to be considered a work session. It would be a meeting. It wasn't posted. Therefore, we couldn't have it. So tonight, as a follow-up and a good thing for all committee members, as well as for Nicole, to get constructive criticism or ideas of her banners, we're going to give her an opportunity, give you as committee members an opportunity to take probably, several minutes to look at the banner presentation that she has put together. She has 4 ideas that she's going to share with us. And one of them was it takes John, and thank you, John, for the mock-up that you did initially for us. She took that and she ran with it and's got some neat ideas. She's got some that have, what do they call them, clip art, and she had some that have live figures in them, one that she has lots of different colors with. So it's going to be kind of a visual pathway that we're going to go through with her. So kind of look at it. What would be ideal would be by the end of tonight, to give her direction in one particular banner pattern that we want her to follow up with. And then if there's some revisions or ideas we have to support working down the road on that particular banner, we can give them to her. And we will probably end up calling, unless we love one of them just right up front, we will probably have a 30-minute quickie meeting that we'll have to call, post, and then have so that we can approve whichever one she has. So she can get it to the finished product and then get it into the dimensions of whatever. And some of you know better than I, the dimensions, make it printer ready and prepared and delivered. So when she gets here, we'll go ahead and get that started.
Penny,
Yes, Karen? Sure.
I have a message from Sandy. She
Uh-huh.
can hear you, Penny, but she cannot say anything.
Okay, is she muted? Is she on the line or is she on a phone?
She is self-muted. Sandy is self-muted.
Okay, on her screen in the corner, she should be able to hit, you should see what looks like a little microphone. She should be able to hit that and come on with us.
There we go. How's that?
Okay, good, good, much
Penny,
better.
Nicole is on now.
Oh, good. Okay, let me take a moment. You want to bring up a picture, Nicole?
I'm managing the screen.
Oh, you are. Okay, okay.
Oh,
Very
I
cool.
have all 4 designs up.
Okay. What I'd like to do is just take a moment. Nicole Gann is the director and owner of Wahine Creative. She's got 25 years of experience and over 15 years of web design. So with that, she does lots of different things, and I'll let her talk for herself.
Nicole, you're self-muted.
I'm back. I'm here.
Okay, great.
Okay, you have the floor, Nicole.
Okay. So I put together 4 designs for you guys. 2 are based on they have illustrations in them only, right? They try to, the initial directive or direction was to just use shop Sunset Valley, but the research I did, I kind of felt like we should incorporate more. So 3 of the 4 designs incorporate the shop, dine, and play in Sunset Valley. The idea being that some people might just want to go out to eat for the day. Some people might want to go for a hike, or the play for me also kind of invokes like going to Academy to buy your shoes or basketballs or sporting goods or whatever. I felt that that kind of maybe spoke to a little bit more people than just shop, which me as a middle-aged woman is like shoes and clothes and things like that. So hopefully those 3 words kind of pull more people in. So the first 2 designs incorporate illustrations, and the second 2 designs incorporate actual photography. So those are kind of probably the main difference between the 4 designs. All of them use, you know, good color, bright colors. All of them invoke happy. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to, your kind of thoughts on them after you have like a minute or so to look.
Is there anyone that speaks to any person or someone just right up front?
John Popola has his hand up. John, you're
Okay.
self-muted.
Oh, I think that was maybe left over from a question that I don't remember now. So I'm going to put my hand down.
Okay. Roger Edmondson has his hand up.
Okay, Roger.
Roger, you're self-muted. There you go.
I think the one that stands out is the shop, dine, play, the first one of the series on the top left. It's very visual. It's very simple. Don't have to, your mind and your eyes don't have to interpret a lot. It's pretty straightforward, and I think it's eye-catching. I think that would be my comments. Other than that, all of them are good design work. I think some of them for a visual have too much going on for a place for a banner on a roadway or in a parking lot. So I'll just leave it there.
I think Nicole, that we would see a number of people from Sunset Valley. Our old firm used to use a lot of clip art, and so they're not as keen on clip art. And that middle one, I like the colors and the combination of things, but at the same time, I'm not real big on the clip art. So,
And Penny Clayton Stice has his hand up.
oh, Clayton?
Yeah, I was going to second Roger's comments. I like the upper left. The middle one and the lower left, there's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And one on the right is just doesn't appeal to me at all. I think we like the shop, dine, play, but I think the upper left one is the direction you want to go. And I think it's kind of close to what the Sunset Valley symbol is anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe incorporate that. Just
Oh,
a
and that's where
suggestion.
we have, yeah. You know what I would like to see is a little bit of a change. Your typeset is all the same. Is there a way to make different widths or different kind of a feel? Because as I'm reading it, I kind of go through shop, dine, play, pause, Sunset Valley. If there was something that would say shop, dine, play with one font and then Sunset Valley or different widths, something that would give it a little bit more of an offset.
Sure, we can play with the fonts.
Okay.
Penny, John Popola has his hand up.
Okay, John?
John, you're self-muted.
Yep.
There you go.
So I think that the photo ones I think are, I'm not a fan of those. I think, Penny mentioned about the clip art, but whether it's stock photos or not, I think it's always tough to do that. I think the legibility is going to be a challenge, and trying to find stuff that doesn't read as kind of cheesy. I actually think number 3 is heading towards a thing, if you're going to go in a photo direction, that in some respects, I actually think number 3 is the strongest layout. I don't think it's a good strategy necessarily for us to use photos, but I think it's actually the strongest piece of design. It's simple. You're drawing on the blue, the blues. I would say the word shop should actually draw directly on that blue if you're going to use that photo. So it's, because right now the hue is slightly different. So I would say number 3 is probably, in a way, is actually probably the strongest pick, even though I think the photo strategy is probably a mistake. On the, I do have a process question, and I'm curious if there might be an opportunity about like the rounds that come from here. I guess what I always like to see as a design process is first starting with something like a concept and actually mood boarding, drawing on examples of great work that's out there as examples, and around something that's a theme, a conceptual theme, and then using that to arrive at the executions. So sort of getting dropped into judging these as executions without having seen sort of the story of a design process. I think I'm just curious, how did you arrive at these layouts, and is there an opportunity to sort of see more of the process and the thinking that's going into them? Like, you've clearly arrived at a typeface that's in 3 of the 4 of them. Why go with that typeface? Is it about legibility? Like, how do you think these are gonna scale? Yeah, I guess so. That's I know that's kind of a lot of different stuff, but is there a chance for us to see that bigger presentation of how we get to these executions?
Is that a question for me? This is Nicole.
Yes.
I can explain some of it. So At first, in the first kind of round, I worked with the smaller kind of committee. There were 4 of them. Got some feedbacks on a couple of different rounds. And these were kind of the ones that the first round had 4 that were all illustrations. We decided we wanted to see something with some images just to see a kind of a contrast, so I added some images in. As far as the font goes, you know, this is kind of like a first round. I like that font. I think it's a strong font. Both of these fonts are strong fonts. I'm certainly willing to play with more fonts. You know, one is a serif font. I wanted to try to see what that looks. One's a non-serif font. I wanted to see if that was stronger and more legible. I think both of these fonts will scale very well as far as becoming larger, as far as the readability. That's why they were chosen. And I've actually kerned them to make sure that they were spaced out, that there's enough space for each letter, so that they're easier to see and read while you're, you know, driving by, not too fast, but, you know, relatively fast down Brody or wherever these guys are hanging up. So that's kind of the process that went behind that. I'm certainly willing to try more fonts if we want to see them. But again, I was just trying the difference between, you know, what does a serif font look like readability wise versus a non-serif font. So that's kind of what you're seeing here.
To lean into number 3 for a second, do you feel like you could carry that color wash sort is there enough other photography that if you had variations on the photo that you could say have different representations? Because right now we got like one woman who's of a particular race and looks a particular way, but if we had multiple instances, maybe with different colored backgrounds and sort of took that, you know, sort of evokes, you know, it feels like it lives in the world of Target, clean background, sort of color wash site, you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I can look on iStock and see if there are other images within that series or other images kind of similar to that style. Definitely with, you know, different genders, different races, that kind of thing. So we could try different. And she appealed to me mainly because she is on kind of a generic color background. So we have a color pop, nothing too busy. The same one in the, you know, the on that bottom layer is, it's not too busy in the background. The focus is on the person shopping versus a lot of the other images you see for shopping have a shop in the background, which, you know, we don't necessarily want to designate one particular shop. So I was looking for something kind of generic, but very colorful. And so that's kind of why I landed on both of these women. So, but I can definitely take a look and do some more research to see if we can't find something else in this series or something similar.
I think the more I look at these 3, I feel bad for you in that like having to hear our real-time reactions.
No, not at all. That's what I do for a living.
I definitely think that even in spite of the photo concern, I actually think number 3 is the strongest design by a mile. I think that the negative space that the ground creates for the type makes it readable. I think the bold color, and it's a well art directed shot. And then I would recommend exploring how to actually align the blue and the yellow with the blue and the yellow of the background in her shirt, so that they're, because right now they're not quite snapping together as hue wise.
That's fine.
And that could be in either direction. It might be that the yellow is going to be too illegible against the light background, and so color correcting the photo to match the type. I am a little curious about the contrast level for the Sunset Valley against that white background, because the yellow against white, how will that play in a banner when the sun hits it? Will it be readable? Does it need to be higher contrast? And I think seeing these in sort of photo mock-ups to get a sense of what this, like, to scale what it will feel like from a driver's perspective is going to be really important to be able to make a judgment, because this is not how people will experience these. They'll experience them in situ, so to speak, in the situation. Yeah, that's kind of my immediate set of thoughts.
Okay, Karen?
I like the shop, dine, play, Sunset Valley, the upper left. And, but I think that we need the shop, dine, play to pop more. And I'm not real sure how we do that, but color, something different in color, I think would help. And have you heard, Mickey sent you something? Penny?
No. No, I didn't see.
Okay, Mickey likes, she can't connect her phone yet to speak. And she says,
Okay.
I like number one because it picks up on some of our traditional branding with the sun. The colors pop, even though I tend to like number two because my eyes find it soothing. But I don't think it pops well for someone driving by, and she's not fond of 3 or 4.
Okay. Clayton? Unmute yourself. Sylvia, do you have him muted? Nope.
She did.
Okay.
So I think that, John, your comments about the picture 3 being the most visually compelling, I guess back to your comment about it being a particular sex and race, is it your thought that there would be a series of these indicating different shoppers for the different diversity of shopping in Sunset Valley? You know, obviously we have Total Wine, Home Depot are a couple of the big ones. Would you envision having different characters but the same sign type thing? But again, I think my first knee-jerk response is in terms of coming up with a Sunset Valley image. The number one is really, I think, where we had all kind of gone first, and especially really liked your mock-up. So I see what you're saying about 3. I don't know how you overcome some of those things without kind of getting specific in terms of what people can buy or the diversity of things people can buy. I'm wondering if that's just getting, now the message starts to get too garbled and complex, and is it back to let's just be simple, do the shop, dine, play number one, but have, as Penny said, different fonts or different layouts of the 3 words. I think for the topic of discussion, does everyone agree that 2 and 4 are out? I think we might make more headway if we could throw those out and just narrow down in terms of whether or not it's 1 and 3.
Okay, can I have a motion that says?
Oh, this is Ross. I've had my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ross. I can't see you today, so. Is your
it's
picture
okay.
up?
No, I'm just wrangling kids.
Okay.
Point I wanted to make, I think that number 1 is fairly compelling in a lot of ways, but perhaps the way forward with number 3, including some of John's feedback, would be to switch to some iconography. Perhaps a shopper just like with the side profile carrying the bags. That way we're not as reliant on like the stock art. If you could like mock up a drawing or something like that, somebody carrying bags, that might be a way forward. That includes that. I really love the simplicity of number 3. On number 2, the different icons kind of remind me a little too much of like a web app on a website where I'm scrolling through. That's the main reason that I don't care for that, because it kind of sounds like this tech vibe in my head that I'm like, that's not Sunset Valley. But number 1 and 3 are pretty strong candidates in my mind. So that's all.
Penny,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
this is Sandy.
Yes. Hey, Sandy, you have the floor.
Okay, I like the one on the left, upper left. If I'm zipping down Brody, I'm either gonna focus on the lady running or I'm gonna focus on the words. So I really need something that's plain and simple, the upper left-hand corner.
Okay. May I have a motion to say we'd like to proceed with 1 and 3? A motion, Clayton, can you put that out for us, please? That was your idea.
I will
Okay.
make the motion to eliminate 2 and 4 from consideration and take further debate on 1 and 3 forward.
Okay, a second?
A second, Sandy.
Okay. We have a motion to remove 2 and 4 from the running for the banners and proceed with 1 and 3. Okay, any comments? Discussion? Okay, if not, let's call for the
Hey,
vote.
this is Roger. This is Roger. The one thing I don't really, I think both of those are strong designs. Just keep in mind the first objective we had to do this was to remind people that they're in Sunset Valley. And the number 1 has the strongest place identification in that regard. Both of them are good, and the second one's nice design, and it probably would make a really good placard or some more sign for stationary or foot traffic. But I think in terms of catching people's eye, making them aware they're in Sunset Valley, that number 1 really goes the mile and does it.
Okay. Any other comments?
Penny,
Yes, Karen.
Mickey just texted me and said yes to the motion.
Okay, so hers is a yes. Okay, if there are no more comments, then let's go for I call for the vote. All those in favor, this is hard. Okay, Sylvia, you have the ability to count votes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all those in favor vote with yes. All those opposed, no.
Penny, let me poll because folks are chatting away. So if you'll just
okay.
allow me to vote. Penny, you vote.
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
I don't see Aneshka. I don't see Aneshka. Roger,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Mickey was a yes. Clayton made the
Yes.
motion, was a yes, and Sandy seconded the motion, was a yes.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you everyone for your support here on these. We will go forward with 1 and 3. And I think at this point in time, we've got enough information. And Nicole, how about what we will end up having to do, since we really need to move forward on this, call for a very brief, maybe 30-minute meeting of the committee to go ahead and approve the changes that Nicole can make on either 1 or 3, or on both 1 and 3. Are you good with that, Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Can I ask, this is Clayton, can I ask Roger a question?
Sure.
Roger, did you want to put forth a motion to prioritize or focus on 1 rather than 3?
Well, one would be my, in terms of yes, I would prefer 1 over 3. They're both good. So my motion would be, I move that we approve the the first design number 1, and that we ask Nicole to make some modifications with regard to font and play with some different fonts to see if it can be made stronger than it already is.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll
second it for him.
Okay, who was the first person that said I'll second it? I'm sorry.
It was John Capola.
John. Okay, John, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion? You know what? I just thought of something that's a possibility. Our hardware with the banners going up is going to be two-sided so that we can have a basic banner, and then for different seasons, different experiences, or different campaigns, if you want to call them such, we would have a second banner, and we could use something that was more specific and designed in a different way on that second banner. So it gives us options that John was talking about, as well as identifying Sunset Valley.
Can I ask about Penny, what's our process that dig further into feedback on number 1 in particular, like in terms of the time we're going to spend right now, and what does the revision process look like from between now and the final designs being locked?
Okay, at this point in time, we're going to ask Nicole to go back and make revisions as we've recommended. This was kind of a brainstorming session and narrowing it down a little bit. And then she will come back to us with additional things. And we actually, according to her proposal from the 12th, she said she'll go up to 3 rounds of changes or adjustments to the chosen design. So if we, we come back with it and say, this is what we like, or we need it a little bit more tweaked, we've got that option. Correct, Nicole?
Correct.
Okay. I think she's willing to work with us. It's just a matter of, I felt bad because we didn't have the opportunity. This would have been our first go, and we didn't have that opportunity because of the policies of Sunset Valley. So we do need to give her some credit, and I give my apologies to you. Whoa, somebody's coming in.
Could I offer some more feedback and possible directions I would like to see for the next round?
You know what, would it be feasible? And Sylvia, correct me if I'm out of bounds on this one. Since you are a professional, John, maybe working and giving her those things one-on-one on the side. I think we're all in agreement that where we're headed, and rather than because we do have 11 proposals that we're going to try and get through tonight. Could you work with her one-on-one? Would you be willing?
I certainly would be. I'm going to defer to the group as far as what the process is here, because it's
okay.
Everybody's got taste, so I don't want to assert my tastes as the be all end all.
Oh well, and we're not going to acknowledge it as the be all end all, but we do know you have some different expertise in that. Okay, committee, are you good? And before, in processing, what we've done is we've had like the person that took it gave the responsibility to the staffer and a designated person to work with the banner folks. And we all accepted that as, moving forward. Committee, are you good with that?
Yes.
Penny, can you take the vote?
Yes. Okay. Let's take a vote on John being our point of reference with Nicole.
No, not that.
Not a motion. What?
Yes, the motion to proceed with refining design number 1.
Okay, we need to vote on that. Okay, do we have the motion and a second? No.
Yes, we had a motion by Roger
and a second vote
by John.
Clayton and John. Okay, moving forward. Any other comments then? I'm sorry, I got lost in that discussion. Okay, if not, let's take a vote. Sylvia, you've got the floor on that.
Penny?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
John?
Yes. Yeah.
Roger?
Yes.
Ross Ponder,
Ross has the kids, so he's probably.
Ross,
Yes, I was trying to unmute.
Mickey,
Yeah, we're good.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Clayton,
Yes.
and Sandy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, committee. Okay, the next item on our agenda, okay, is as a committee. And this is something that we then have to agree upon as we're moving forward with number 1 of the banners. That, John, are you asking the committee to be able to be that point of contact or offering up to be that point of contact?
Can I just, when you say point of contact, can you explain a little more what the timing is and what I'm signing up for with that? Just so, because I don't want to say yes to something and not be able to fulfill the obligation.
Okay, Nicole is going to be the one doing the work to be able to be her guide in your expertise. You're not going to be designing the banner. You will just give her insight. If she shows it to you and you say, maybe let's look at a little bit of this for that or something, you know, like my suggestion was to change the font, maybe color it, you know, or width so that we have that. No design implications there at all. But if you had said you thought that it needed that guidance, so either
Yeah,
that or
I'd be willing. I'm willing to do that if you know, the committee feels that that's kosher. I'm happy to step in and offer some creative direction.
okay, Nicole, are you good with that?
Sure, I'm open to input always, so that's fine.
Okay. Committee, let's do a straw poll on that one.
So you need a motion to allow.
Motion.
Yes, you need a motion to allow John to be the creative contact.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I guess before we have the motion, I guess I'm with John. I would like to have a little clear understanding in terms of what he is authorized to do on behalf of the committee. I think it'd help everyone to know very clearly what he can and cannot do in terms of guidance.
So it's really creative direction with Nicole. As Penny stated before, there's 3 rounds of revisions based on this particular design. So in between each design, the committee can see where the direction is heading. So it's not, we don't get to like the 3rd one and then voila, here you go to the committee. So that's what Penny mentioned, maybe short 30-minute meeting so that you guys can be brought up to speed as to where the design process is. So I don't imagine that it would take maybe a couple of emails back and forth between each iteration, between each committee meeting to see where we are in the process.
And the reason I'm asking is I know there was some issues last week trying to host a meeting that we found out we couldn't have.
Correct.
So
that's why we would post.
how are these kind of quick feedback
we would have to
sessions
post
supposed to
they'd
happen?
be posted, Clayton. They'd be posted and follow open meeting regs.
Yes.
Okay.
I did
That's
not
fine.
understand that they had to be posted. And to include everyone in the process of transparency, I sent out that email. That was my bad. And whenever I was told I could do it, we backed off.
Then I would like to amend the motion to include that in addition to John being able to act in that role, that we also identify and post those meeting dates right now so that we don't have to get in a situation where, oh, we forgot to.
Oh, we're not going to forget, trust me. It doesn't take me long to learn. Okay. So, okay.
That would be my
second to
only
that motion.
addendum is that.
Yeah. A second to that motion. And what we're talking about a minimum of, you know, like 4 or 5 days between meetings. So we need to get moving on this. Our stores are opening and we need to help them out. So second to that was by John. John, are you amenable to the amendment to the motion?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, we've got a new amendment, an amended amendment, or proposal for an amendment on the floor. Sylvia, do you want to?
So Clayton's original motion was to allow John to be the creative person in contact with Nicole during the iteration process. Who was his second?
Clayton's second was John.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't say. I'm gonna abstain since this relates to me. So
Yeah.
I would rather
I
have
actually-
someone else.
I actually thought that someone else had made the initial motion, and I was
I'll
just
second.
chipping in.
Okay, so Ross is seconded. Now
Okay.
Clayton asked for an amendment to his original motion that said, I want to know meeting dates. Clayton, are you still wanting to make that motion? If so, does the second?
Can you trust that I will get the meetings
Yes,
put on the
I
calendar
can.
and get them out?
I'll
Don't
trust.
worry about that.
I trust you can do that. I just wanted to make sure that was encompassed.
Okay,
As you
so the
said,
vote on the
time's
floor,
clicking.
the vote on the floor is to allow John to be the creative contact with Nicole. And Penny, you can call for the vote.
Okay, if no more comments, I call for the vote.
So Clayton was the original motion maker. Ross was the second. Okay, Penny, how do you vote?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Roger?
Yep.
John's abstaining. Mickey?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Karen, did I miss you?
No, you got Karen.
Okay, motion passes.
Good. Thank you, everybody. Okay, Nicole, thank you for being present with us tonight, and thank you for the work that you're doing for Sunset
Thank you.
Valley.
I look forward to hearing from you, John.
Great, Nicole. What's your phone number?
We'll share it with you, John.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna blast it to the whole committee.
Oh, that's
That'd be
right.
great.
That's right. This is all like public stuff. Okay, yeah, got it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on down to citizen comments. And because of the timing and the immensity of this meeting, I'm going to ask that we welcome citizen comments. And I have no way of even knowing who all's here. But if there are comments out there, that they be held to 2 minutes per speaker so that we can move on, because there really is a lot to do. So are there any citizen comments?
Penny, I have Ruth has her hand up.
Okay, Ruth, would you like to speak? You want to start the timer, please?
Oh, she took her hand down.
Oh, Ruth, did you take your hand down?
She took her hand down. Okay,
Okay,
Ross
very
Ponder
good.
has his hand up.
Okay. Ross, you're a committee member. You can
Oh,
speak
let me
anytime.
take it
So.
down. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other citizen comments? We're glad everybody's here tonight, which I don't even know who else here, but I'm glad that we have people that have an interest in what is going on. Okay. No comments, then we'll move forward. Approval of the CED Committee Minutes from May 6th. They're in your packet, or were in your packet, are in your packet. Does everyone have a chance to read them?
I'm Penny. I'm going to say I have not. I voiced the challenge that this was a tremendous amount of material to get through by today. So I'm going to try to be as participatory as I can, but it was over 600 pages of material.
We're on the minutes. We're on the minutes.
Oh, the minutes. I'm sorry. I thought it was
You're a
about
little ahead of yourself, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the minutes, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. If everyone has had a chance to review the minutes, and can I have a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I so move.
Okay. Is that Sandy?
Sandy.
Okay. I'm sorry. You know what? Since we can't, or I can't see everybody, it might be good just to introduce yourself name-wise, and then your motion. A second
This
to that?
Clayton, I second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. Well, there wouldn't be any discussion. Okay, let's take a vote. Sylvia?
Penny,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Roger,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ross,
Poor guy.
Yep.
and Mickey.
Yes.
Okay, the motion has passed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, approved. Thank you, everybody. And bear with me because I have to write my notes on this. Okay, our next item would be normally our council liaisons report. Councilman Ellett has graciously said he could leave his things till the end so that we can get done what we need to be doing today. So, Phil, thank you, and we'll get back to you. Okay, next item on our agenda is normally we would go to the RFPs with the proposals and going through and talking about them. How about if you will bear with me, we're going to take a quick change, and I'd like to go in and on your agendas is number 8 is discussion of potential community events supporting the retail shopping centers. Ross has agreed very nicely, thank you, Ross, to be our point of contact on this event. Can you give us just a very brief summary of your ideas and thoughts?
Sure, absolutely. So the gist is we want to have a big, reopening, re-unveiling to the city of Sunset Valley residents, but also everybody within our social network. So the idea is that on the last Saturday in June, we'll have already sent out an email to all of the residents to say, hey, we're going to go out and shop at your favorite places and talk to the owners, the people that work there. More than that, we'll also be coordinating some social media shout outs to get your friends that live outside of Sunset Valley to come here that day. And so it'll be a big push that we have.
Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you hear me at all? Mayday.
I heard you till you go to your friends outside of Sunset Valley.
Mayday. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, toddler's wild. The goal really is to get as many warm bodies into Sunset Valley as possible. And so I'll be developing a timeline and coordinate with other people on this committee who've been in contact with the major property managers and things of that nature so that the actual store owners and staff know that we're coming.
Okay. This process actually serves dual purpose. Number one, it gets the citizens of Sunset Valley aware of what is going on. It gets interest built in their side. And then on the other side, it builds interest in the businesses to say, we appreciate you and we want to support you. So between the two, we're building that trust process. And it kind of builds up to the second thing, which is going to be the grand reopening of Sunset Valley. And that topic or title hasn't been determined yet, but that's something that has to be a bit further out because we're working with all of the 3 management companies. And Karen has agreed to be our point of contact on that. Karen, you want to give a brief summary there?
Sure. We have had a proposed timeline presented to us. But before I go any farther, if anyone, the event day for Shop Sunset Valley or Reopening Sunset Valley, whichever title we decide, is set for July 12th. And we need to vote on that eventually. And it will, if everything that has been talked about, from thank yous for our first responders and posters, and I mean, you know, paid for, made by, not by me. We will have expense with it, and the entertainment portion also. But Ruth will be our member from the Arts and Commission Committee, and Sandy Williams has agreed to be on it, and Chief will be. And so we haven't all had a chance to meet, but we will get back with you with more ideas. But July 12th is the one we have to decide on, and also realize to really pull this off, and Chief has given lots of ideas, we're going to need some money, and we will need people who can do press releases, so it won't just be Sandy and I from our committee.
Right.
And so that's about where we are.
Okay, thank you, Karen. You know, another piece we want to reach out to is to Nick from the Community Impact and see how we can tie in with them as a community interest piece and get some funding for different parts of that. And for that, you know, we're going to be working with the Arts Commission, and they have a representative that's coming to be a part of this process. So welcome, and we're looking forward to the good stuff. So, okay, reports are out of the way. Let's go back to number 5, and the review of the city's request for proposals or RFP process. And Sylvia is just going to give us a little bit of information on the initial scoring.
Hi, Penny. Thank you. So this went out in the packet. I just wanted to give the committee an idea of how the scoring process goes and the filters that we apply. So when the committee sees them, they're actually proposals that we call responsive, meaning they met some of the criteria, meaning they met all of the criteria that was required within the RFP itself. So the first filter obviously is the easiest one. Did it meet the date and time deadline? And that appears to be the easiest one, but trust me, if you set a time at 3 o'clock and things come in at 3:15, that's difficult, but it's not fair to the other responders. And so that's the first filter. And then the second filter is, did we receive all of the documents that were required in the RFP package? Sometimes we require insurance. Sometimes we have any requirements for prior litigation that maybe those firms have been involved with. And then oftentimes we ask for resumes of the principals who are within, who are going to be participating or doing the work, so that we can really see who's going to be assigned to the city of Sunset Valley. And then we're at filter number 3, which is scoring the RFPs for content. And so you guys would have received in the email, you would have received this initial scoring sheet. These are the 8 criteria that were included in the RFP packet. We're going to give them a simple score 1 through 10, with 10 being the highest. When you guys get done with this, we have included a cover sheet for you guys that can summarize, so that you have 11 sheets and then you have this one as a cover sheet, because staff will then aggregate all of the numbers and we will present this. This information will be available in the packet to the council, who scored what and what the totals were. Oh, very simple process. I'm sorry, I'm losing control of my, too many things open at one time. So,
Okay.
Yes,
Go
that's
ahead,
it.
I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Please. And what is the good piece is, once this is done and each committee member sends back in their list of scorings, there is a tally sheet that will be, your numbers will be put into this tally sheet, and then will be prioritized by the highest, since we were grading 10 being the best, the highest to the lowest. And at this point, after conversation with our mayor, we have the ability to not have to meet with a joint meeting of the council and CED to review all of these. We will take forth to the council the three top proposals. And that's strictly from the numbers which each committee member has put into the process. And they will do a 15-minute presentation. And then there'll be 15 minutes for questions and answers before the council makes their decision and votes on a new marketing company for Sunset Valley. Any questions for either Sylvia or myself?
Is now a time to ask about the timing?
Well,
Penny?
John, what we're going to be doing on this proposal is that you only came to us yesterday or today, I can't remember when the email came through, saying that you didn't have time to do it and they had gone out last Friday, I think it was the 22nd, whatever that day was, the next day they went right out. I'm sorry, pardon me?
Yeah, it was Friday afternoon that they went out.
Friday afternoon. Okay, and today is Wednesday. I'll have to tell you a story. I have never pulled an all-nighter since I was in college, but so that I could get them done, I did, and then did the reviewing. So I think that as we go through this, we're making an adjustment so that we can accommodate your needs. And we're going to have a 10-minute discussion on each one of the proposals. And with that, we will have pros and cons, or points you learned that were good, points that you learned that were not so good from each one of those processes, that whenever people, and there's 11 or 12 of us on the committee, so that we'll have dialogue going back and forth. And number one, it gives you an opportunity to page through. Number two, a lot of the things on each one of those proposals, it is not 638 pages of hard type. There's a lot of pictures. There's the contract that they're asking for Sunset Valley to sign, which I didn't feel that was necessary at this point to read all 11 of those. And there's also about, most of them have 4 or 5 pages of different staffers and their backgrounds, etc. I think there were certain criteria that we put out in the RFP that we were able to look for. And I kind of got to a point where I was able to look and say, these are the things that are important for this way to evaluate them so that we can be fair.
Well, I want to say, Penny, God bless you for pulling an all-nighter. Even with all-nighters for me, it would have been impossible. Just the Canals and Cope one was 10,750 words. And just as a matter of a process, I think I don't want to belabor this, but just as a matter of process, if we, 11 RFP responses of this size is really big. And if, have as a firm, we respond to RFPs like this, and we have given ourselves less turnaround time to review these RFPs, to the primary time of which was actually over a weekend, than a normal for-profit firm going out to firms like this. Like we've given ourselves less time if we're supposed to make meaningful scores by today than a typical firm would have given for the process we've taken so far. So I just want to raise this as a friendly piece of constructive feedback to the process, that we should be giving ourselves more time to digest all this material than we have given ourselves. And an all-nighter is also not necessarily productive. This is a lot of cognitive heavy lifting to get through and really take seriously all the work that these firms have put in. And doing it overnight on not a lot of sleep's not a great way to do it. So I just want to raise that, not to make excuses for myself. If everybody's been able to get through all this material, that's fantastic. You've got lots of brain power for it, but we've given ourselves less time than would be typical in another situation.
Well, I think we all do what we need to do. And John, I had a 4.0 when I graduated university. So I don't know how to say, I did pull all-nighters back then, so we did have the ability. But what does the rest of the committee feel? I don't know what else we're going to be able to do, because if we set back again this whole process, it goes another 2 weeks with the council, then it goes out further down the road. Do I even have a guarantee that in another week you'd be able to get it finished? Don't know that. John?
Oh, I mean, I would certainly, I mean, did I miss, I guess, did I miss communication about the way the schedule was going to play out? Was it communicated in advance of these landing on Friday that we would be expecting to
We,
sort of
in a
be on a
meeting,
4-day,
agreed
like,
that we wanted to facilitate it as quickly as possible to get this in place, because as the stores are opening back up, we needed to be working with them. And we already know that there is a lag time when we get on a new marketing firm for them to be able to do the research they need to do the planning they need to do, the strategic planning, and then the implementation of the process. We could be out, 6 months. Some of them have a shorter time turnaround. I did read that, but some of them are looking at not even be able to start till after the first of the year. So that was a factor in what we were looking at.
I think that's all the
That was
more
a
reason
factor.
for us to not rush the decision-making process. I mean, I've slept under my desk many a night. I can't even recall how many times I've slept under my desk at the office. So if I just would love to see some right sizing of the process schedule. I've said my piece. I said it in email too. If everybody else has been able to absorb this and clear their schedules to do so, let's proceed. I'm just saying I was not in the position to be able to do that.
Okay,
So,
understood.
So, it's nearly $300,000 of city funds and 11 RFPs. So
I have a quick question.
just as an FYI, the timeline was included in the RFP, and we've had 3 firms inquire today as to where we are, well, actually in the process, because the hope was June 2nd or June 16th to the council. So on June 2nd, we had multiple firms asking where were we in the process. So just that, it was noted
That was in the RFP.
Yes.
Okay, so there's your answer, John. It was in the RFP. We were abiding by the timeline.
Penny, Mickey has her hand up.
Okay, Mickey?
Mickey is self-muted.
Mickey, you want to unmute yourself, please?
Okay, did I get there?
Yes.
Yes, you're with us.
Okay, all right. I finally got this phone and the cameraless computer connected. And this is my fault partly, and then partly just in timing too. I know I wouldn't have them ready by tomorrow myself. I would need a little more time, but at any rate, that's in order to do it well. That would be for me.
Penny, I have a question so we can move forward and I can stop being a nudge. Just can you remind me when is this next city council meeting where the scoring would happen? Because
the 16th.
The 16th. So, and if we can submit our score, when do we need to have our scoring submitted by so that the numbers are aggregated for council? Like, do we have more time to do that so we can? Like where does the scoring, where's the scoring time?
Okay, what we need to do is to get back the pieces, and we were hoping to get them tonight or Friday evening. Now, if everybody wants to go till Friday and spend 3 hours on Friday or 2 hours on Friday and do the proposals on Friday, I've already gotten several calls that people don't want to meet on Friday. It's a posted meeting, so it's legitimate. Clayton, we're on board on that one. And we had built that in case we didn't get through. That is the only other alternative, because what we need to do, to be fair to the 3 companies that we're going to ask to do a presentation, is to give them enough time to be able to give a good presentation. And they have to do their homework on that side. So, to be able to do it Friday, we would meet. people over the weekend would have to have their things in. Our staff would have to do the scoring. Monday, we would get back to the companies. Well, we'd send out the email to committee members to let you know how things ranked out from high to low and how we were going to proceed with A, B, and C as to asking them to do the proposal. We would notify them that 1, 2, and 3 proposal, 4 through 11, thank you. The process is moved forward. And then on the 16th, those 3 organizations would come to the council. And at that point, they would review, have questions, and vote.
Well, I can definitely guarantee that I'll have my scoring ready by Friday. I will try, if people don't want to meet on Friday, I will just do my best during the duration of this time to keep working my way through and just be listening and try to contribute as best I can. But is it a motion to try to move to try to?
We'd need a motion to say we would postpone reviewing tonight and meet for whatever the duration of the time is needed on Friday to finish out. And we'd have to work till they're done, till we have a legitimate lineup of the 11 scoring process.
Well, if no one else has had the time issue I have, I'm not going to motion for that. I'm going to pay close attention. I'm going to read along as this conversation proceeds and process my scoring now. If that's, I don't want to be the sole person to push us into a late Friday night that no one else wants to do.
Well, I mean, as a committee, we each have only 1 vote. So if you want to make that proposal and get a second to it, we'll vote and we'll decide how that goes. John, we're each members of this committee, so we can make it work or we can make it not work. Do you want to make that proposal?
All right, well, I'll propose a motion to postpone the full review of the proposals for final recommendations to Friday, but to use the time we have now to get first impressions. And
you know what? I don't think we need, I'm sorry. Do we want to even open that process up right now? If we're going to postpone it and you're not done with it, why don't we just say we're going to do it all the way we had originally planned on Friday? I mean, just kind of saying we're going to halfway nitnoy it, that's not really good. That could be unfair to whomever we get to review. Because if we went through and reviewed all 10, we'd have them all done. So my thought would be, if we're going to postpone it, we make a complete postponement.
no, I mean, I'm going to stand by my motion. People don't do this all in one sitting. This is not how it gets done out there in the world. So multiple conversations is a reasonable thing to have. If everybody doesn't want that, they can vote no.
Okay. Do you have a second to it? Do I have a second? John wants to have a postponement to the review and the voting till Friday, but still wants to talk about the different proposals tonight. A second to that?
Penny, Roger has his hand up.
Okay, Roger.
He's self-muted.
Roger, unmute, please.
It's not the second. I just had a comment about moving it to Friday and wondering if you really even have a quorum on Friday to get it done.
I would hope so. It is a registered called meeting. We were going to meet on Thursday, which is only tomorrow night because today is Wednesday. But because there's a conflict with another committee and we are recording all of our meetings, we could not have 2 meetings on the same night. So we had to go to another night. They had already registered for their regular meeting.
Well, I can assure you that I won't be there Friday night. I have other plans, and it was all my schedule was built around Wednesday, Thursday originally, so I won't be there. I reviewed all these things. It took me about 8 hours, but I spent the time and reviewed it, and I have my scoring and sheets ready to turn in. So
Okay.
maybe I don't even need to be there.
But to have a regular meeting, and Sylvia, correct me if I'm not, or if I'm speaking out, that we would have to have a quorum to be able to have a meeting.
Correct.
Okay, so we do need a quorum, so we have to have enough people that will say, I will be there on Friday to do this, that can commit to being there. So let me go back. Do I have a second yet to the motion?
Ruth has her hand up, but we're looking
She's
for
not
a
a committee
second.
member, though. Are
Yeah,
you
correct.
making a comment? I'm sorry, Ruth.
Yes, I just wanted to know if it was correct that a meeting could be called by you all on Friday when it's not on the website, either on the CED
It is
or the
posted.
calendar?
Yes,
Ruth,
it's posted.
It is posted. It is posted. It's
Okay.
official. Trust me, I learned my lesson
Can you
one
tell me
time.
where to find it?
It's on this. It's at City Hall and it's in open town hall. The official posting is at City Hall.
Okay. Well, I just know I'm not supposed to go to City Hall unless I have an appointment. So
It's outside. It's posted outside in the official bulletin board.
You can't go in. You can go to, but not into.
Oh, okay. I thought I wasn't supposed to go near. All right.
Okay. So thank you for interjecting some humor into this. So, okay, do I have a second to the motion that John made?
I have a note from Mickey that's second for discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Discussion, please. Okay,
This is Roger.
any hands up? Yeah.
This is Roger.
Okay, Roger, you have the floor.
I really, I guess I'm a little concerned about the time and effort that I put in. Evidently you put in, evidently others on the committee have put in to get this done in the time frame allowed. And while it was a commitment of time, we volunteered and agreed to put that time in. And I just find it disturbing that that we're going to postpone this thing and push it out for for want of a couple of people not getting their stuff done. I'm sensitive and to people that have other commitments and work commitments, and I do too. And I just think that we ought to move forward with this. I definitely cannot be there Friday, and I don't know that it's imperative that I be there. I can provide my scoring and everything else, but you need to make sure you're going to have if you before you vote on this, you need to be sure you're going to have a quorum, or else it's going to get pushed out even further.
Further, yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Roger, for your insight, and I agree. We need to make sure we have a quorum if we even go to considering this for a postponement till Friday. Sylvia, is there a way that we can, I mean, we've got the motion on the floor and we've got a second.
Yes.
And can we go through and just see how many people would be able to attend on Friday to make sure before we even vote that we have a quorum?
You got to get this motion off the floor first. You've got to handle this particular motion first. Ross has his hand up.
Okay, Ross, you have the floor.
He's self-muted.
Ross, please unmute yourself.
I'm trying.
There
we go.
You're with
Thank
us.
the Lord.
Thank you.
Sorry. I was trying to say is I can't be there on Friday. Yeah, it's working. Praise be. As far as Friday, I will not be able to be there, but happy to provide my scoring. That's the thing I wanted to communicate.
Okay, so that, I mean, if I'm doing an analysis, that's two that cannot be there out of our quorum. And okay, all right. Any other comments from the floor?
Mickey has her hand up.
Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
Yes. I wondered if those people, even if we didn't have a quorum, if people that either couldn't have it done tomorrow or can't be there on Friday, can they just turn in their scores by Friday? Even if they might not be able to make a meeting or whatever, can they just turn their scores in?
They can turn their scores in, Mickey, but we won't be able to have a meeting to have any action on those scores.
Yeah, we can't have the discussion, which is really an insightful thing. Tom brought to my attention today when we were talking, because I said, oh, I'm going to go ahead and tally up my numbers so I have my scores done. And he said, Penny, why don't you wait until after you have the opportunity to dialogue with the other members? Because if we have, you know, every member of the committee reading the proposals or at least getting their ideas, I have notes at the bottom of my sheets. And so I can say, oh, well, I saw this. And somebody else will say, well, I saw that. And I might think, geez, that's a good idea. And it would impact how I view that proposal. So we're learning from one another. And in essence, we're going to get the best program possible to work with us. So that's why we wanted to have that discussion. It's not necessary because really, you know, in the big picture of things, everybody's feelings are integrated into what the scoring pieces are. So, but again, we have deadlines that we have to meet, so we have to get this stuff done and get it in a way that we meet what we sent out in the RFPs. So, okay, we have, I'm not sure whether that answered your question or not. It just says we wouldn't have the discussion time.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. If not, then I'll call for the vote on the proposal that says we postpone the entire process of reviewing the 11 proposals till Friday.
I'd like to propose an amendment to the proposal. Can I do that?
You are the proposal maker and making amendment. Yeah, I think you can. Sylvia?
The second has to agree to the amendment. So go
Okay.
ahead, John, and then.
A friendly amendment is the second to it, so ask your second.
Well,
What's your
I
amendment?
mean, the emails that sent this out on Friday, so Friday at 3, it said we're going to discuss the proposals at the next Wednesday, and then the subsequent email from Sylvia said that we would have time to continue Thursday if tomorrow. So the scoring, I guess I have a question about just the scoring, because the way these emails were described was as a discussion. So in terms of the process and the scoring and the action, is it a matter, like, is there a world in which we tally up all our scores, but somehow arrive at different recommendations than the numerical totals of the scores? I'm trying to understand the distinction between the value of the scores versus the discussion process.
John, the criteria on that 8-question sheet were points that went out that we wanted the RFP, went out in the RFP that we wanted the different respondents to put into their proposals. So basically what we were asked to do is to go back through and see if those criteria were met, how well they were met, and how that whole process seemed to fit. And there was, 8 different things. By discussion, what we're doing is sharing the ideas so that we can learn from one another, as well as filling out just our own thing. It can be done in isolation, or it can be done with the discussion. But what we're asking people to do is read them, fill out this initially, and then we'd come back and discuss it.
Penny, perhaps a middle ground is that, we maybe just do postpone it and we call a meeting for Monday instead of Friday. That gives folks whatever period of time. It still puts us in time to publish the council agenda as required and get some notices out if we're trying to meet the 16th date that was in the RFP.
Okay, let me even look and see if Monday's going to work for me, because yeah, I can be there and meet on Monday, and there's no conflict in meetings that have to record.
That would be fantastic for me. I can't speak for anyone else or for Mickey, but I just want to make sure.
Well, and I've just thrown that out there, John. You'd have to amend your motion, and Mickey would have to accept that amendment.
So Sylvia, just so I understand, can you repeat what it is you're saying? Would you're recommending?
postpone the meeting to discuss and, well, postpone Friday's meeting to Monday, which would give you the opportunity to have scored so that Monday we come out with the top 3 to move forward to the city council.
And as of Monday, it would be a done deal.
And for clarity's sake, you know, we had set aside today and tomorrow possibly to do this process, so we could proceed with what we were going to do today as a matter of a conversation and a discussion. And essentially what we're doing is we're moving Thursday to Monday, right?
Correct.
So isn't that really what we're
Correct.
so, okay. So then my amended motion is I move to move our second day for final deliberation and scoring to Monday, June 8th.
Sorry, everybody. I just got noticed that the P&E meeting was moved to Monday.
Okay.
We do have Tuesday.
Tuesday, I don't think works for me.
Oh, correct. You said that.
Yep, Tuesday does not work for me.
Well, then I withdraw my I withdraw my motion, and let's proceed and try to get through between tonight and tomorrow.
And tomorrow we cannot meet. John, tomorrow there's another committee meeting that is having their thing, and that's why it had to be moved till Friday.
Okay. Oh, so the Thursday spillover meeting, what couldn't happen? I
Could not.
missed that.
Okay, I explained that because our meetings are being recorded now. There was another committee that had already registered and posted their meeting for Thursday. So ours could not be posted because the recording couldn't be done in 2 committees.
Okay.
So
Well,
we had to move till
I'll let my
Friday.
motion stand then. For Friday, that we just proceed, but that we prepare for the final scoring on Friday.
Okay, our problem though is if we cannot get a quorum on Friday, we cannot do business.
So, but does that mean that we were set up to only have tonight then, because we couldn't meet Thursday? Because
No, I did not know that we would not have a quorum on Friday. Nobody
Right.
knew that. But we're hearing now from different people that they cannot make it on Friday. So we're kind of set up, we're getting stuck in a corner right now. Yeah. Clayton?
Is there an alternate? Can the committee meet at, say, 4:30 on Monday as opposed to?
Yeah, my Monday, 4:30.
I could do that.
Okay. Monday's good for me. So is there
I could-
anyone?
I could do that. Also, I got a text from someone just now that P&E hasn't been posted yet, and maybe they could move and jockey a little bit too.
They've been moved once already, Mickey. I would face a wrath that I would choose not to.
Okay,
thank
thank you.
Aggravation. Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
We're working for consensus and gathering and moving forward together.
So my only comments about Monday is if we moved it to Monday at 4:30, we have from Monday 4:30 to Monday 6:30. It would sort of be a time certain 2-hour block.
That's acceptable from my perspective.
Okay, our goal was for tonight to actually try and get all of these done. If we did 10 minutes per proposal, we would allow 1-minute comments, be concise, we could get it done, and we'd have an opportunity to move forward on all 11 of them. It is workable, but at the same time, you know, we could do it on, you're saying now Monday at 4:30 instead.
Monday at 4:30.
Monday at 4:30.
So I just need to clarify, John, did you withdraw your motion or did you not withdraw your motion?
No, my motion is we proceed as planned, which was to spend tonight reviewing and to have a second day to conclude that review, and that the motion is to have that second day, which we were intending all along, to be on Monday, and it sounds like from 4:30 to 6:30 as our final window to compile and act on the final scores.
Correct. Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion that says we proceed tonight, beginning the proposals, and if we get them done, we get them done. So John, understand this piece, right?
Yep.
And then with our backup date as Monday, 4:30 to 6:30. And Monday is the 8th, correct?
Monday the 8th.
Monday the 8th. Okay, sounds
Correct.
good.
Does the
Monday the 8th.
second agree with that change?
Yeah, okay.
I
And
I
Rob?
agree.
Oh, Mickey, I'm sorry. Mickey's, okay. Any more comments here, folks?
Penny, the mayor has her hand up.
Okay, Mayor, you have the floor.
Hi, I just wanted to, it was mentioned earlier about the joint meeting. I just want to clarify, I think council would be completely fine having the joint meeting. I'm fine. But if you choose not to, there's two things similar to what you guys are experiencing right now. If we do the joint meeting, it may be hard to find a date that works for everybody on your committee. When I polled council last night, there was no disagreement with having a joint called meeting on either the 9th or the 10th. That would be up to your committee to decide. Alternatively, if you don't do a joint meeting, what I would suggest is that for all of the committee members that can attend, that you make sure to attend, either way, make sure you attend the council meeting on the 16th. But if there is anybody in this group that thinks you're going to want more ability to converse with council or vice versa, we definitely should have a meeting somewhere between now and presentations, because those presentations are meant to be tight and quick, where they present and council is asking, council feels like they've been through enough process to be able to make a selection. And so if that means we push the calendar out a little bit to allow for more process, again, I'm not asking that you do that, but I am completely flexible if your committee or if other people speaking tonight influence your committee to do that. So you guys aren't under a constraint that I am pushing you to meet. And so I'm trying to make sure that that we have enough public input and process to allow for a good, clean selection. And that's it. And then I'm here if anybody has questions that would be helpful. So you guys aren't, if you have questions about calendar and or the portions that I have to post or call, by all means, ask me. And that's it. Thank you.
Mayor, this morning when we spoke, I took away from that conversation that we did not have to have that meeting because it had been pretty much something that people didn't feel was useful, and it kind of was confusing, is the word that.
No, I think that the takeaway that I had last night was that the process was a little clunky when we did the last joint meeting. And I take the responsibility, which I think I communicated that night when Councilmember Gonzalez was discussing this, which is if we were to post a joint meeting this time, I would make it clear in the posting, it is a joint meeting. However, the committee is there to be advisors or consultants, or to be able to answer questions and help the council, but that in that joint meeting, there wouldn't need to be an additional vote because your committee would have already said, these are the people that we're wanting to bring forward. So really that joint meeting would be to make sure that we have a real clear idea of exactly what we want them to present. So we don't end up in a situation where they're presenting and we realize, oh, well, there's a bunch of stuff we wish you had presented tonight that you didn't. And again, I really leave that up to your committee and the residents that are attending tonight to decide what's the best process. But if we don't have a joint meeting, what it means is your committee is going to go from 11 to 3 or 4. And then the very next ask of council is going to be to listen to presentations from those and make a final selection. And so just make sure that you guys are clear on what process we would be following and the dates. And I'm flexible. And I believe council, if there's something your committee feels strongly about in terms of adding dates or pushing out or keeping it tight, I'm flexible to that. So,
okay.
But there is not a requirement for a joint meeting. You're correct. There's not a requirement. So really it would be your residents, your committee and council feel like that would be helpful to the process and the final selection.
Okay. And my understanding is that the criteria that's on this 8-question process that we are evaluating each submittee on is things that are in the RFP or were in the RFP. And that if each council person has the time or takes the time to read the three presenters' proposals, then they should have kind of general information, and we can share with them not our scoring, the numbers we can share, but not individual scoring. We would have the ability then to share those 8 questions and say, these are the things that we're going to ask the companies to present on. So that's already given us a lineup of things that we want that company to make the council and the community aware of, because they're going to be presenting to us as well. Is that correct?
Yes, if you don't have a joint meeting, it means that the committee would be, it would go straight from committee selection of a final 4 to
presentations on
the
6th.
final presentation. There would be no additional opportunity, which is, I would hope, I'm sorry, I would hope that all the council members are here this evening and that we also would be able to attend whatever additional meetings you have. But again, that's a decision for your committee to, right? And that's just something your committee should account for as you guys are looking at dates and talking about processes, to think about, is council going to feel comfortable with point A to point B to point C? So if we start taking out steps, go back and ask yourself, will council feel comfortable enough with the revised schedule to make a final selection?
Okay, well, the only date that works for me, the 9th, does not work. I'm already committed on that date, so it needs to be the 10th. So we would need to have that joint meeting on the 10th.
Sylvia, do you know now if there are any other called meetings on the 10th?
No, not that I'm aware of. We have a meeting on Monday, and we have a meeting for budget and finance on that Thursday, the 11th.
So that would just be it. That was really the thing I wanted to add tonight, is that if you all decide you would like to have a joint meeting, I'm happy to post it. I'm happy to host it. And certainly if residents, committee members, if you feel like it's helpful, the one difference would be I would do a better job this time of posting a clear process, which is in part also so council members know. Will there be a vote taken tonight? And if so, is it a joint vote or is it each committee? Just make it a little bit clearer how the agenda will go for that joint meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay.
Okay, we need to take the vote, Penny, for the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, would you repeat that motion again? I'm past it far enough that I don't even remember.
It's a motion to continue tonight and move Friday's meeting to Monday from 4:30 to 6:30.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Comments? All pretty much cleared through. Let's call the vote.
Okay, Penny.
I'm abstaining.
Okay, Karen?
Yes.
Roger?
Abstain.
Ross?
Come on, Ross.
Abstain.
Nikki?
Abstain. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Clayton?
Thank you, Ross.
Clayton?
I said abstain.
Sandy?
Okay.
Abstain.
The motion does not pass. Let's see.
Did we include John's vote? Oh, no. Yeah, I didn't remember hearing him.
3 out of 8.
Okay. Clayton, did you say something? Unmute yourself, okay? Okay, so we had, I'm sorry, Clayton, I can't hear what you're saying anyway. So, okay, we had a motion on the floor. The motion was defeated. I'm kind of confused now where we even go on this one.
So we start the discussion of the proposals. Item number 7.
Yeah. Okay, so then we go into the discussion of the proposals submitted by the firms. And for this, we are asking for 10 minutes per proposal. And Sylvia will take care of the timing of, and I'd ask that we do an opportunity of looking at things that we saw that were good things that met the criteria in the RFP that we were able to grade, and things that we felt were missing from that. And then we'll, if we do it 1 minute each, we can have 10 comments on each one. I know some of them we may not spend a full 10 minutes, but I'd like to try and get through as many as we are able.
So Penny, I'm just going to remind everybody of the scoring sheets. These are the 8 questions that the RFPs are supposed to be scored on. These are straight from the RFP that the subcommittee put together. And I will bring up each of the proposals in alphabetical order, and we will start with ampersand, if that's okay with you.
Okay, everybody get a second to pull that from your piles. Okay, the floor is open for ampersand and Canales. Comments?
Excuse me, Penny, this is Roger. What are we doing here now?
Okay, we're just discussing the things that we found in the different proposals from the 11 committees or the 11 businesses or
Right,
marketing
but what
firms.
do you want from us at this point? A
Okay.
1 minute response or?
Yeah, well, thoughts on it, things that you found that you thought were good, things that you felt it was missing. You know, those are the kinds of things that we
I'll go first.
need to make around. Okay. And each
I'll go
person
first.
got a minute. That's kind of a good thing. Thank you. Roger, you have the floor.
I'm just gonna be real quick and just summarize. I won't give my score, but I'll just summarize that I found that their proposals stopped short of execution with no budget allocated for that part of it. I think they indicated they would be available to consult or direct whoever executed their strategy. And I felt like their relevant experience wasn't as great as some of the others. Period.
Thank you. Next comment, and if we can, pros and cons, because I like to get both sides of the comments. Yeah, I'll put a pro for it. I felt that they were local and they had a point of contact that would be available to us all the time. Some of the others that I reviewed are from other parts of the country, and I know that logistically you can because of technology, but it's nice to have somebody can pick up and get in touch with right away or can attend a meeting if needed.
Mickey has her hand up. Mickey?
Okay, Mickey, you have the floor. Mickey?
I guess I'm better now. I felt that they were strong in their commercial experience, and that they had seemed to have good experience in municipal and county and state government things. I'm the one that's kind of behind in getting to all those, but those things stood out to me particularly there.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mickey.
And I also did like the fact that they were locally connected already. There's a certain amount of time that you have to take to get used to where you are if you're coming in from the outside. And the strong point here would be that that would already be accomplished with this company.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Other folks?
John Popola.
John, you have the floor.
So
Hey, this is Ross.
I'll start with a negative comment, which is just it was a very long deck with a lot of boilerplate before you got down to business, which I did not appreciate. But on the positive side, and again, I have to caveat this because I haven't been able to go through all of them. I've just been working down in alphabetical order. They do seem to have quite a bit of city municipal and retail experience. which seem to be like our primary concerns in terms of experience. You know, page 46 of the proposal points to, you know, multiple city and municipality brand exercises, and then on 47 points to a lot of retail clients. You know, Academy Sports is listed as one of their clients, and Academy is obviously a major retailer in Sunset Valley, so that could be especially useful because that's one of our major retailers. So there's actually like a direct contact there as well. And I think obviously I stand by my prior feeling about the quality of the general design chops that Canales brings to the table. So I have more comfort with the design portion per Canales than I do with the broader sort of strategy marketing chops of Ampersand. I'm more neutral on them, but the experience looks pretty strong to me. And that's my note.
Okay, thank you, John. Other comments?
Ross has his hand up.
Ross, you have the floor.
Hey, this is Ross. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I thought that it had some. It was just a beautiful proposal in and of itself. Like, it had a really nice design to it, but there were typos throughout. And as somebody that used to proofread stuff for a living, that just kind of drives me bonkers. And so some of the things, as John mentioned, seemed a little like pre-canned marketing fluff. But when it got down to like the brass tacks of what they were actually proposing to do for us, it was relevant. So, you know, with them, my main concern would be like, you know, how much are we getting that is unique and tailored to our situation rather than like, you know, rinse and repeat recycle.
Okay. Thank you, Ross.
That's all.
You know, tagging on to what you were saying there, I found it very interesting. They're very astute or whatever. On page, I think it was page 7, right at the beginning, they talk about the COVID-19 and how that has impacted purchasing, you know, online purchasing versus brick and mortar stores. And that's something we've been talking about. So I kind of went and said, boy, that's right up front in the beginning. Now, maybe that's a part of their bigger thing, or maybe they kind of came down and took a good look at Sunset Valley. Don't know that, but I found that very interesting.
Clayton has his hand up.
Clayton, you have the floor.
Yeah, when I was looking, they have some really nice stuff. I like a lot of what they're doing, and I find it easy to answer the RFP questions for most of the questions. One of the ones I'm struggling with in a number of the RFP responses is the second question, the experience in economic development. Because there's a lot of advertising and working with you know, individual retailers, but I'm having a hard time quantifying economic development activity between the various proposals. And I was wondering if anybody had any criteria or comments or suggestions of how they're determining a rating for that question. So that's really one of the key ones we're going for.
Sylvia, is that you that was speaking?
No.
No. Who? I heard somebody pop in.
That was me, Karen.
Karen. Okay. Karen, you have the floor.
Some
Thank
of
you,
it,
Clayton.
Clayton, I'm coming back to what you said, because on several of them, I could not really see where they'd been totally involved in economic development. So I found that hard to rate on them also.
I want to add, that scoring criteria number 2 is just fuzzy for me in general. I don't know if, because I don't know what it means. I don't entirely know what it means.
Okay, John, you were part of the committee that made that process or put that process together in the RFPs.
Yeah, my focus was entirely on creative strategy and brand. So I think
Okay.
that was really my contribution, because the concept of economic development outside of brand awareness and foot traffic, I don't understand. So I'm struggling with how to give that an honest rating. Maybe Sylvia or somebody can help with some clarity on what that's supposed to mean as an independent variable.
I think this is Roger. And
Yeah.
economic development, to me, is speaking to them taking the longer view, not just the immediacy of the response to whatever the promotional material is, but the longer view about where you take the retail and the economic direction of the city in. And because of all the changes, I think it's in the economy and in the retail center area, that I think that someone with an eye for how to build a stronger economic base is critical, and just as critical as the creative part. The creative part has a outside of brand, has a very short duration.
Okay. That's the 10 minutes. And this is the discussion that we wanted, because this kind of gives us guides as to the question on the economic development portion of it. Thank you, Roger, for your answer. And that's our 10 minutes. Let's move on, Sylvia, to number 2.
Sorry, that's Augustine.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask again if folks would please mute themselves unless they're speaking. There's a lot of background noise going on.
Okay. Would you like me to mute myself, or you could mute me and then just when I have to dig in, be a part of it?
Sure. I'm going to set the timer and I'll start the timer now.
Okay. We have 10 minutes worth of comments and questions or ideas on what you feel from the Augustine when you reviewed their proposal. Okay. First comment, anyone?
Councilmember Ellett has his hand up.
Okay. Councilman Ellett, would you like to have the floor?
Certainly, thank you. Sylvia, as a non-voting member of CED, I am allowed to give input here, correct?
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. So I liked a lot of what Augustine had. I didn't score them as high as some of the others on their retail and commercial experience. I did like that economic development experience. I did not like the budgeting part of it. I did not feel totally comfortable that they could execute within the budgeted parameters that we would give them. Overall, I thought they did a good job in their response, but I did score them relatively low on items number 1 and number 7. So I just wanted to pass that on.
Okay, next set of comments.
Roger Edmondson.
Roger, you have the floor.
Thanks. I actually was impressed with their submittal. I thought they demonstrated good experience in retail promotion, not so much not in commercial real estate. They had broad experience with smaller cities. They implied the amount of work they had implied a significant amount of work for municipal economic development programs. The creative was good. I think they overstated their emphasis and misunderstood perhaps the B2B part to include non-retail businesses. and other than that, I rated them pretty high. So I
Mhm.
thought that they are worthy of further consideration.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Next comment?
Penny, this is Sandy.
Sandy, you have the floor.
One of the things I liked about this was the question that I found in there, and we've all been asking this. They put the question is, why would I want to go there? And I think this is something we're all asking, and we, you know.
Okay, thank you. You know, I found it interesting, if I might insert my thoughts here. On page 23, you know, they talk about strategic framework, grow and retain existing businesses, and attract and recruit new businesses, and then depict the lifestyle, livability, and quality of life, which is an individual thing. I think I would add a number 4 to that, which would be, you know, to allow people to enter into Sunset Valley. And I don't want to call it a destination, but to enjoy the things that we have to offer here in Sunset Valley. So, you know, that would have to be added onto this process. Okay, other comments?
Mickey has her hand up.
Okay, Nikki, you have the floor.
Mickey is self-muted.
Nikki, unmute yourself, please.
There you go.
Okay, try again, Nikki. One of these days we'll all get used to this stuff. I haven't done it real extensively on this because I'm one of the ones that's behind on doing my work here. They did do some research on us. I thought it was a little bit odd that they thought we had 40 hotels under their scope of work. I thought, where were they checking this out? They did, you know, mention the custom winery, and so they did some research on us. So I was, you know, positively impressed in that regard, but wondered where they got some of their things. Thank you. That's all.
Data. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mickey. You know, on this one, unless I am mistaken, I read their fees and their budget and stuff, and they don't allow for actual marketing fees and funds and such. And so they're still at the 230, but I couldn't discern if there was marketing. It says marketing plan development. Does anybody have any ideas on that for me? Because I can't see where it goes. It gets all the stages, but it doesn't get into actual marketing. And, you know, this is what we're hiring the group for, or the marketing firm for. Can anybody
Penny,
answer
that was my note. That was my big note, was that there's no budget to do paid advertising or paid placement of any kind. So it's very, very front loaded on account management and strategy.
Right.
And then creative testing, including focus group, and those 2 line items represent over a third, over almost not quite half, but almost half of the budget. And then there's no budget for media.
Marketing. Yeah.
And
Okay. Thank you. I thought maybe it was just me, but
yeah, that was that. I think that is problematic. It means we'll end up with a lot of great strategy and not be able to put it in front of anybody.
Yeah, not to be able to implement it. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, John.
Clayton has his hand up.
Clayton, you have the floor.
One of the things that I did like was, I think on page 54, they're, you know, creating a destination for Conejo Valley. That's kind of really what we're looking for. And I didn't really see others that had kind of the same direct that really called to me that the I don't know that if it's the economic development or, you know, really they're trying to play to I think they put their finger on what we're looking for.
Okay.
But
Thank you,
I agree.
Oh.
I agree. Their cost, everything's pro bono in terms of execution and even monitoring execution afterward.
Okay, thank you, Clayton. All right, other comments?
No other hands.
Okay, with that then, we'll move on to number 3. Oh, we have a hand?
John just raised his hand.
I just
I'm
want to
sorry,
add
who did?
one. Hey, Penny. Yeah, this is John. I just want to add
John,
one more.
okay, thank you, John.
Yeah, one more bit of just concern regarding the way things are structured, and that it's something for us to think about in general is, we need the firm to understand our scale and scope and right size things, and I think that's part of that's the biggest worry that I have when I see there's no media spend and I see a process that's kind of been designed for a much larger budget than I think the city's prepared to spend. And I think we could end up getting, and just as a firm, I mean, they're clearly a very capable firm, but we might get out over our skis in terms of their size and in terms of their cost structure. So I think that's a big red flag for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, other comments? Again, folks, this is where we can share and we can learn from one another. So.
Okay, let's go to the next one is Beyond Spots and Dots.
Okay. Okay, opening it up for comments. I don't know how many of you, and I'll open it up with my thought on just one thing. They have no on-site rep. They're from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I grew up and, went to the University of Pittsburgh, all these good things. I can identify, I started at Slippery Rock. They've got somebody from Slippery Rock. So it's really kind of, I understand where they are and where they're coming from. But again, my concern is that, number one, you don't have anybody around here that you can reach out and touch. Now, I'm sure that with media and some of you younger folks would be able to say, oh, you can do whatever. I still like to know that there's a name and a face that I can work with. So that was one of my things. I did like they have the SMART goals in a five section thing as MART. I thought that was pretty cool. But again, that's a piece of, as John called it, fluff that they can put in. But if they really dig into it, which they do later on in the process and part of their proposal, they do go into it more in depth. So I thought it was pretty cool. So go. Okay, everybody.
Penny,
No
this
comment? Yeah, Karen.
I rated them really well, but I do not like the fact that they are not local at all. I was impressed with awards that they had gotten, and that they had worked with Google. So that made me know there was a lot of digital experience, but they don't have someone local at all.
Yeah. Now, can I ask a question of the committee in general as to, and maybe I'm behind, but they said they worked with Google and Facebook. And to me, Facebook is something that not very many people are using these days. It's the older generation only that's using it. Am I correct or am I kind of lost?
Yeah, Penny, this is John. Facebook remains like not maybe the single best platform for doing targeted advertising. So yeah, it feels like all kids have moved on to everything.
Yeah.
Everything else
Okay.
like TikTok, but
Yep.
Facebook's number one. But Instagram's owned by Facebook, so that's the other thing is Instagram and Facebook together
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because I was thinking Facebook is not what people use that much anymore. So, okay. Thank you.
Also, Penny, this is Mickey. The statistics, interestingly, in Austin, although we think of ourselves as kind of a young city, we have a very large increasing population of older folks here too, and which surprised me. It's only something I heard recently, that there is there's quite a group of us here, and so I think as long as we got both Facebook and something else that draws the others, I think we'd be okay on that.
Okay. So as long as we're not going to become the Florida part of, the United States, that's not really good. So anyway, okay. Thank you. Other comments?
This is Roger.
Okay, Roger, you have the floor.
A couple of comments. First is several of the firms that responded to this are not local. That doesn't bother me. I worked with companies all over the world from Austin, Texas, and that was even before we were as technology enabled as we are today. So that doesn't really concern me as much, with the exception of probably this firm, because I felt like their experience was more local and regional than it was. Some of the other firms that aren't located here had relative experience in other parts of the country, which demonstrated that their distance was not a limiting factor. The truth is that in the near term, anybody that works for us isn't going to be meeting with us face to face. So they could be 3 doors down the street and they'd still be talking to us over the internet, probably, and working with us remotely. But other than that, I didn't feel like their experience was that strong, that relevant. That a lot of they just weren't, they were weak. I don't want to pick out anything in particular, but of all the ones that of all the respondents, I felt like they were one of the weakest. But I just wanted to say that about people not us thinking that we have to have somebody that's right here. In fact, I think there's probably some of these people we would gain from experience they've had in other geographic regions, because they have a broader base of experience than just being here. And the other thing to think about is when we talk about Austin, our service area is not Austin. Our service area is really, a certain radius around Sunset Valley, and reaching out to those people, because shopping's become hyper local now to a large extent. So we're probably not going to draw people down from Georgetown or whatever, unless we get the Apple Store or some things like that. So anyway, that's all my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Roger.
I have a question like to those of you that are experienced with this, but when we talk about local, somewhat local people or people that are far away, do companies like this typically at least fly somebody in to check out what it looks like, what its placement is, what its issues are? Or do they just do this all over the internet without even paying attention to who we really are in a physical sense?
They have the ability. Mickey, this is Roger. They have the ability to draw some really good insights and inferences just from data that's available. But typically, I think most of these people put budget in for travel to make sure that they came and that they had local. But they know what they're sorting out and what they're ferreting out, and there's all kinds of sources of information and data in regard to the characteristics of the area.
Okay, I just was concerned because I think there's a difference between statistics and the feel of a place, if I can put it that way. So thank you for the comment.
Well, if we feel like they did good work, then we should be happy. But if they didn't have any statistics that proved it, we'd probably be unhappy.
Yeah. Okay.
If I may, Roger, if I may say something, Chairman.
Okay, who's speaking? I'm sorry.
This is Ruth.
Okay, Ruth, comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo some very good points that 3 of the committee members made. One is John said Facebook is relevant, and that is so very true. I work in marketing communication, and we get a whole lot of bang for our buck out of Facebook because people who recommend where to shop are in that bracket on Facebook. And buzz on Facebook is worth a lot of money. So yeah, don't dismiss Facebook. And 2, Roger, you brought up a really good point. A lot of our spending dollars could be spent on travel for companies far beyond our area. They can't just drive in and put their feet on the ground and get a gauge on who we are and what we're about as a city. So that also was an apprehension when I was looking at these myself. And then there was I think a comment by Mickey saying about, when you meet somebody in person, there's nothing like, pressing the flesh and meeting them eye to eye and getting a feel for who they are and what they are. So meeting in person is very important. So if we do go with somebody that's outside our area, we're just going to have to plan on a portion of our budget going to travel. Whereas if someone's local, we can see them more frequently and a lot less cost. So I just wanted to put those ideas out there that y'all have been talking about.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. All right, we're down to 1 minute, so a deep breath. Wow, I heard that one. Any other quick comment? Okay, if not, thank you everybody on that proposal. Let's move forward. Sylvia?
High five marketing partners.
High five.
So they had a wide variety of, trying to get to their cover sheet, sorry. Here we go.
Okay, we have High Five Marketing Partners. Comments, folks? Committee?
Everybody can just when you're ready to talk, unmute yourself.
This is Roger. I felt like they didn't demonstrate the relevant experience very well. They seem to have some pretty good back-end measurement, but mostly car dealers is what I saw their experience in, and so I really didn't score them that strongly. It looked like creatively they had the chops to do it, but I think the experience is much greater. Is a higher priority and weighted higher for me than their creative capabilities.
One of the things that I noticed on page 27 and 28, they're doing research and development, but there is no actual estimate for advertising and marketing on their thing, so that we end up without having the opportunity or having to go out and find something else to actually do our marketing for us. They'll do the front end stuff, but not the back.
Penny, this is Sandy.
Yes, Sandy, you have the floor.
Yeah, I didn't find a lot of places in there where they had experience working with municipal, county, or state government. I'm like John, there were a lot of car dealers and things like that, but not a lot with municipal or government.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, other comments?
This Clayton, I kind of felt that this was a advertising agency, not so much marketing. Kind of what I got out of their material. A lot of ads placed in various media, print, etc., but not much in terms of how they were developing the message behind those ads.
Hey, this is John.
John, you have the floor.
I want to second Clayton. I think that's a very astute point. They they're just incredibly weak on creative strategy in general. Aesthetically, I think brand and the opportunity to brand the city for me is the single most important component here. And so right off the bat, I think the aesthetics, I'd just give it a 0 out of 10 across the board. Not just the fact that the proposal itself, which is your first impression, is not an aesthetic document, but just the actual work product. They did provide a lot of examples across different media platforms, and I think they're not high quality. They don't match some of the other options we have. So I just personally disqualify. They don't come close to making the cut for me.
Well, and I think as we all, each one goes through and rates them, that's going to show if that's the case. Thank you, John. Okay, any other comments? Yes, I'm sorry.
This is Ruth. I just want to point, I'm sorry, this is Ruth. I just wanted to point out when I read through High Five, I don't see any digital reference or examples or proposal for plans for digital. And I think that's a very weak point in the Austin, Central Texas area. Not include that.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, other comments, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, if not, I call that this 10-minute time frame to a close. Are you with us, Sylvia?
Yes.
Okay.
I am. Hot dog marketing.
Okay.
So everybody's mics are hot, so they can just unmute themselves and jump in as they'd like.
Okay. Again, I won't ask to give people the floor if you introduce yourself. How's that sound? Because it's better if we know who is speaking. Go forth.
This is Karen. And I was very, very impressed with the cities that are closer to our size that they had worked with and with their products.
This is Roger. I kind of rated these folks in the middle. I didn't think they had any clear demonstration of retail development promotion. Give them high marks for being local and their local experience. I would like to have seen more examples of messages, and didn't feel like they were really that strong creatively. They showed a lot of upfront research and stuff they did in prep, but didn't show much on the back end to measure effectiveness. So, you know, in that regard, I think they're somewhere in the middle. And I would say that you know, if local becomes the most important issue, that maybe they're in the top. But I'm hoping that that won't be necessarily the deciding factor. Thank you.
Okay. Next speaker.
This is Clayton. You know, hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Clayton.
The interesting thing is, although they did spend a lot of time and effort on small government, you know, only one of the comments I have is that it looks like, you know, our grandkids will see the results based on their timeline. I don't know if anybody looked, but they're into the months and years, whereas most of the other people responding had much shorter timelines. And I don't know that we're ready to burn down the house to get a timeline, but I thought that my concern is when you have a timeline that's that spread out, that containing costs is difficult.
Okay.
This is John.
So I'm very concerned about their ability to manage their costs.
Okay.
Oh, hey, this is John Popolo. I want to second. I mean, they've got a 12-week discovery qualitative, and then a 16-week quantitative discovery, which, I mean, I think what this reflects is an incredibly research-heavy approach, and I think I think if we want to go that route, we just have to decide that now is the time that research is going to withstand the test of time, because that's going to be it's a very research heavy schedule and process. And we might find that we wish we had been a little more agile and gotten to creative and a little sooner, and maybe even set ourselves up to be a little more experimental in certain ways.
Okay.
It's a very deliberative approach.
May I propose a question to our committee in general and our resident experts in the marketing fields? When you negotiate out a contract with a company, can you go back to them and say, you know, we have a concern that your research is too heavy, or, you know, that the timeline is too long, we need to be active in moving forward? And if they say they can do that, then you can count on it? Or is it kind of historical that they'll fall back into those old habits of long, and then not producing? I don't have that answer. Yeah.
If I may, Penny, this is Ruth.
Yes, Ruth, you have
Yeah,
the floor.
thank you. A proposal is just that, it's a proposal. When it comes down to actually signing an agreement and detailing the nitty gritty, it's definitely up for options as to how, just like John is going to work with Nicole in finding a better fit for our banners. There's definitely, you know, they aim to please. One of the things I saw that was absent from some of these is website creation, because I think that's a real critical component to branding ourselves. Not all of them incorporated that. I'm in digital marcom, so I'm definitely looking for those things. And I didn't see a strong presence or commitment to building a website for us, which I think we need because our municipal website is just that. It's municipal, it's for our citizens, it's reference material. We need something that's branded and it's going to appeal. And it's a place where you can point your friends to. Hey, I just went shopping, go to their website. You can see what other stores they have, you know, that kind of thing. So,
So they are all negotiable, all those parts.
We're in the driver's seat, we're writing the check. So if we like them all but the way that they presented any portion, we can say, cut this, add that, extend this. But you're very smart to look at it and see how weary it would be to go 55 weeks before we're actually getting to have products put out before the public. And it's a cautionary thing, hot dog marketing, and see that.
Penny,
Yeah.
It's Phil. Hey, just as a reminder to some of the folks here, we've actually seen a presentation from these folks.
Yeah.
And my recollection of, and it goes to the points already made, I think, my recollection of that presentation was they really sold the heck out of the discovery portion of it. And I think that's reflected in this path. So I think, I think these folks, I can't remember who it was, someone made a comment that they would be in the middle of the pack. That's what I would put them. And I think we're in for a long haul with them if we engage with them. And too long, in my opinion. And
okay.
Penny and John again. I want to add one more note to that effect regarding why I think it's problematic to have such a heavy research and component here. I'm actually a big fan of research, and I think there's a world where this type of research process is absolutely the right thing to do. And that's where you've got a much clearer product that you're selling, and where you're going to target and try to understand who's buying. We have a much more amorphous thing. We are trying to get people to just come to a location that has a diverse and changing set of stores and offerings. And I think that is going to be a tough research challenge There's
okay.
too many different needs. There's too many different audiences. And I think we should emphasize brand and awareness and strong place branding so that people
Okay.
come in, they know they're here. I think everybody agrees with that. That doesn't require the kind of deep consumer centric, what's going to trigger action research that they're laying out. I think this is like a misapplication of a process. And so that's just to give a little more context for why it's problematic, because you could say, oh, well, they're going to do a lot of focus group testing and that's going to be great or whatever. There's value to that, but you got to remember, like, how are we going to measure success? What is it? What's the sale?
What are the outcomes that we want? Yeah.
And there's a lot of different buyers, you know, and if Home Depot represents a large portion of the total retail bill for us. So, and that's a very different buyer than everybody else. And so you're just, it's a tall order. And I think for our budget, we are better spent on strong brand, strong, clear communication, and placement and media dollars.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Okay, we're down to 1 minute. One quick comment, anybody? Okay, thank you. On to the next, please. We're still running the timer out. I start getting nervous when I get under 30 seconds.
So we're waiting the 30 seconds on the timer. Is that what we're doing?
No. My marketing is the next presentation. So we were just I was waiting for Sylvia to get things rolling on her end so we could start it. And the timer can go on now. And mindful marketing, comments, thoughts?
This is Miles Partnership.
It's Miles.
Oh, Miles Partnership instead of, oh, I'm sorry. M-I-N. Oh, okay. Sure, thank you.
So this is Roger. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ron.
I found these are interesting. This is an interesting group. The strengths were that they've got experience with retail development with Simon Properties, the George, and some economic development experience with Georgia's Department of Economic Development, and of course my favorite, which is Visit Lubbock. If that was successful, we should hire them. I'm from Lubbock, so I can say that.
You're from Lubbock. I see that.
Yeah,
Past tense, yeah.
Seems like they cover the bases from a creative standpoint. I wasn't convinced that their back end, their metrics capability was that well demonstrated, or whether or not that's strong. So I think these guys are certainly interesting. I'd like to delve in more on terms of what exactly they did for Simon Properties and Georgia Department of Economic Development, and what the case studies were and what the outcomes were of that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you,
Penny?
Rod. Yes.
Phil?
Phil?
I liked a lot of what they had to say here. Whilst they didn't totally satisfy me on the measurement processes they have, I think they got further along than most people on that one. I thought by and large most of the people that responded did a fairly weak job of covering that item number six. I think these did the best of a bad job, if you like, on that. Okay, so I gave them a higher mark because they were best in class, if you like, on that. But still, I think lacking overall, and that would be a comment I would have of all of these folks. I did like the as Roger said, that experience with the shopping centers and so on. I'd like to learn more about these folks. I really do.
Okay.
Penny, this is Sandy.
Sandy, you have the floor.
I agree with Phil on that results, because somewhere in their presentation they were very result focused, and which not a lot of them have shown that. And it seemed like the tourism campaign and the destination marketing stood out.
Okay, thank you, Sandy.
They took the number of visitors. They took the number of visitors to Lubbock from 50 to 75.
That's a 33% increase, right?
Were you one of those, Roger?
I was all of them. I came multiple times.
Okay. Now, a question I would have, and this is something, the mayor said about if we wanted to have an individual meeting or a meeting with the council, we could come up with questions that we would want in the proposal for each different of the three that would be presenting, questions that we would want to have answered. In this one, there's been two questions that I can pinpoint already, that if they made it to that level, that we would be able to ask the question and say, can you define this a little bit better? Can you give us examples? Can you blah, blah, blah? And that could be something that would be a part of their proposal. So that might justify having an additional meeting with council. Does everybody think that's a good idea or not?
I think that if there are things we like and there's points of clarification, then it's incumbent upon us to go back with questions that they need to clarify.
Okay. All righty. So I'm sure Matt's keeping the list of questions that we've brought forward. Okay. Anybody else with comments on this Miles partnership?
I've got, this is John Popola.
Yes, John.
And I'm going to sound like I'm beating a dead horse and being the aesthetics oriented, but I'm pretty worried about their design chops, and they don't appear to be brand oriented or creative strategy driven, which is to say sort of how to build a story and then deliver that story as a creative experience through look and feel, through event, through multi-platform executions and expressions of the brand. And I think that that's a problem for us, because we want people to understand that we are a particular place.
Yeah.
And that extends not just to the economic side, but again, in this era we're into the safety aspect, where we have our own police department that's very well staffed, and that's a selling point, and we'd want to lean into that. I think on the, they point to the Georgia Department of Economic Development, and I just want to hone in on, because I jumped to that page. What that was is not what we're looking for. If I'm reading this right, and I didn't get to do a deep read of this proposal too, so pardon me for that. But it looks like this was very much about driving a digital experience. So, and that's what all their metrics are. So I don't think that, even though that was technically for Georgia and for an economic development department, the actual goals of that project I don't think they're relevant to us. So let's not.
Well, could be different. It could be different. Yeah. You know what? I have a question, John, and this would be something that I'd love to have you put together. You were talking about branding to create a story. If there is a way that you could put together a phrase or a small paragraph that would tell that, and we could give it to all three of the top 10 or 11 of the that are going to do the presentation, that we want you to address this as a way to tell us how you would interact with Sunset Valley. Could you put that into a phrase or a couple of sentences? it has to be simplistic enough that they can take it and run with it. But I liked when you were talking about that. Would you be willing to do that? So we could give it to all three presenters.
I want to make sure I'm understanding what are
Okay.
you just talking about the sort of the way I described what I just said?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be happy
You were
to.
talking about the creative and the branding to create a story that it would invite people in that would, you did a nice job of how you said it right then. So if you could just put those words from your brain to your paper, and then we can.
I'll do it now so it doesn't get lost. I do think there are multiple firms that have demonstrated that that's the way they think.
Yeah, but the key would be is we put this in as a part of what we want those three presenters to definitely address. That will help us in getting answers and help council whenever they go to make their decision as to which one they think would be the best for Sunset Valley.
Sure,
so that's something we give all three together, each one.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I think that would be great. Okay, we're down to 1 minute. Quick comment, anybody?
This is Ruth.
Okay, Ruth, you have the floor.
About this particular company, Miles, they're based in Dallas, have employees in Austin. They're proposing a 24-week project, but yet they want to spend $5,000 on travel. So
well, I think that's probably negotiable, like you said. Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Again, I think that the preface to all of these, when we're looking, and it's on page 35, I looked at that as well. And I think that they write that in case it's needed, but that's not something, it's estimated travel expenses. That does not necessarily mean that's just for that one part of it. That could be for the whole life of the contract. I don't know that, but that's a question we can address, sure. Okay, thank you, everybody. Next proposer or respondent. Okay, now we are on mindful marketing. I apologize. I put that up too fast. Okay, comments, questions, observations. I'll kind of come out with the front end on this one. We do have some experience with them. They've worked with our Arts Commission on Art Fest for the last, I think she said 13 or 14 years. I can't tell you for sure how many years. But so she has a way to walk around Sunset Valley and know Sunset Valley.
Hey, Penny, this is John.
Yes.
This one I remember quite vividly because it was this presentation is quite similar to what was presented prior. I put them near the bottom of the list from my perspective. I think we've got some really great options to choose from at the top of our list and in terms of capabilities. And I didn't get the impression from the presentations that were made in person back whenever that was, November, whenever, that the capability really was there for the kind of thing that we're looking to bring to the table here. So I understand why they came back to the table, but they're really just thoroughly outclassed by some of the top firms that are in this like cornucopia of RFP responses we've got. And that's just my overall take. I don't have specific notes, worth diving into,
Okay, thank you, John.
This is Roger.
Comments? I'm sorry, Roger, go.
I think their experience is mostly around promotional events rather than it is sustained marketing and promotion. I think they're they're probably more promotional than they are marketing. And I concur with John is that in comparison to some of the other respondents, they just aren't as strong. So I don't think they're. I mean, I know they do Thundercloud, and I know the people that own Thundercloud, and so I think they've worked with them for quite a while. So I think they probably are really good at customer service and good at these promotional events and promotions, but probably not in a sustained branding way.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Roger. Other comments?
Kenny, this is Karen.
Yes, Karen, you have the floor.
And I can't think of a really word to put to what I'm going to say, but it just seemed old school and plain to me. Does that make sense?
Okay. And we are each can have our own opinions and thoughts on this stuff. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
Okay. Who said okay? Okay. Any other comments? If not, then let's close out mindful marketing and move on to the next presenter or proposal, excuse me. Okay, the next one is residents, and the floor is open for comments, thoughts, impressions.
And this is Roger.
Roger,
I rated this as the top firm. Their economic development credentials are pretty impeccable. They have strong presence here in Austin. They have a strong experience to work off with smaller cities. They're above average in most. I think they're above average in terms of the strategy part. And the thing that impressed me is that they're giving you all this strategic planning and thinking, and leaving almost $100,000 on the table for implementation. So many of the others used up all the budget just to do the strategic planning. They seem to be very mature people. They seem to be very very thoughtful in terms of their approach to this thing. And it's not just what can we do to get this budget and throw some creative out there. Anyway, I was very impressed with them, and I'm very intrigued about whether or not they could actually solve our problems, not only now but long term, because we know that long term it's not coming back the way it was. It's not going to just be build this shopping center up. The city has talked, and Sylvia has talked in great length about how we have to think about what the next level of economic development is for Sunset Valley and what's going to replace the retail business that's not coming back, or that was already under duress from online sales. So I really think that having someone with this level of experience and their qualifications would be incredibly powerful decision to make. That's my pitch.
Okay. May I ask a question and throw it out to the whole committee? I noticed that, yes, they are under budget, and I was looking at the budget page, $142,850 total project of our 300. However, do they also do the marketing? I mean, do you have to renegotiate a contract, or is this something that they don't do at all? They're just on the strategic side. Do you know that? Again, you guys are more into that field.
Well, in the proposal, they demonstrated execution of branding.
Okay.
So
Why did
my
we not put it
subcommittee,
into the thing then? That's into their proposal. I don't
that's a
understand
very
that.
good question. I had that question too, but
Okay.
the thing that I got beyond that by realizing that they didn't use up all the money. We were
Yeah.
asking about, and then have us ask that question. So so I think it certainly is a set of questions to go back with and say, once you've
Okay.
done your strategic planning and branding and what do we do with the remainder of the budget? How do we execute it? I
Yeah,
think that would be a
that
fair
was my big
question.
question on them. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. I just thought maybe with the background that you guys have with different companies, do we know that they do both sides of the house, if you want to call it such? Okay. That looks
Penny,
like they do, but they didn't say. So go ahead.
Hey, Penny, it's Phil. Hey, they hit two of my hot. I like these guys, and they hit two of my hot buttons here. One of them was they did probably the best job, I think, of answering the question. Although I don't give them a perfect score on this particular item, of measuring the effectiveness of their programs and campaigns. So that's a big one with me. The other thing I liked about them, I think there was a good balance between strategy and then execution. We heard earlier on how one company was all strategy and very little execution. To me, this was a good balance. There was a good dose of strategy, and then there was execution in the right proportion to me. So those are two hot buttons that I had, and they hit them square on with. Well, they didn't get a 10 out of me on the effectiveness of measurement of their campaigns, but they certainly did the best job out there at the bank. And so, two hot buttons for me, and they hit them. Hit them squared on in that area.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Other comments, folks?
Hey, Penny, this is John. So I'm going to caveat this that I've only been sort of getting to scrub through this presentation now because this is where I ran out of gas. But I have to concur with Roger. Without doing a deep read of this, but looking at the way it's structured, clicking through to some of the examples that they've linked to with Tulsa and South Bend and Salmon Arm, they seem to be right in the sweet spot of thinking strategically in terms of exactly what I was saying before, which was storytelling and building a brand out of that kind of framework, out of thinking about what's the story, what's the message. I mean, they've even got, if you look on page 31, the way and these are classic things. These are not, this document, it does a really good job of educating about their process and laying out and articulating the way they think about what a brand actually is, brand attributes, benefits, personality, positioning, essence. I mean, these guys are a storytelling brand shop. I can just tell from
Feel it. Okay.
from from the education they've put into this proposal. I mean, again, and I'm just glazing this here, but I think Roger and Phil are right.
Okay.
The graphic design is solid. It's maybe a little safe, but that's probably good for us too. There's a little bit of a similarity, but it's a modern sensibility, so I that doesn't bother me. I'm very minimalist, very focused on clear brand guidelines. So yeah, I'd rate them super highly just based on, again, without having done the deep read.
Okay, thank you, John. All right, other comments or thoughts?
Hey, Penny, this is Ruth.
Ruth, you have the floor.
I like John, I ran out of steam when I got to the T's. I did get through Renaissance, and what made me feel like I could stop and not pursue anymore is actually were my favorite. It's great. Not just because the president went to the University of Houston and their economics student is the Longhorn, which are 2 pluses and 11. But when I got to the third principle and her vice presidential title was storytelling, I just felt like home. These people get it because we're a community. We're not a corporation. we're a bunch of strings of families living elbow to elbow with each other, trying to get along. It's way different type of branding. It involves storing. And I really appreciate what John had to say when he noticed that there was a lack of story in a previous proposal. And I love the fact that they're well within our budget in terms of, I mean, we still have almost $100,000 to invest
But that
in
will be
digital,
eaten up by
invest in
marketing
print,
itself.
invest in computing. Yeah. And to me, the idea is everything, and the execution you can shop around for. So, and we've got a hotbed of that in the Austin area. We have a huge hotbed of creative, commercial creative, and I don't know. These would be, after reading through is 9 of them, I stopped after this one because this one just seemed to make me feel like there's hope. we've got options.
Hey, Penny, it's Roger. One last thing I just throw in, if I might.
Okay, go for it.
From in terms of selecting firms like this, it's almost like venture capital guys work. They listen to the idea, but they bet on the team. And we've been looking at creative and experience, but when you dive down into the team behind Resonance, it's very impressive. One of the principals is at the LBJ school in development. So I really think that this is the strongest team out of the whole bunch. You know, like, and I agree with Ruth that the idea is drives the creative rather than the creative driving the idea. So I agree with her on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Moving forward, we are. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have 1, 2, 3 left. Can we handle going 30 minutes and get all 3 done? And then we can go back and look at how we score individually. And if we have more questions, we have that second meeting scheduled. It's posted. We can meet again, or we can gather up the data and then start to rank things.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Go. I've
Go.
got 2 goes.
Yeah.
Go.
All systems go.
Go.
Okay, thank you, everybody. This is good. I think we're all psyched. This is kind of neat. I'm learning a lot, and I appreciate the insight that is being shared here tonight. Some of the points that I have are right on with what everybody's saying. Some of them I'm going, I'm going to go back and I highlight them rather, and I'm going to go back and take a look again. So it may be how I view things can be adapted. I don't want to say skewed, adapted. So, okay, we're ready to roll. Next one is comments, tandem theory.
This is Roger. I rank this right next to the bottom in terms of that. They even admit that they didn't have any relevant experience in their proposal. And, you know, from ability to do things, it looks like they have that ability, but they didn't really demonstrate a high level of creative ability in their proposal. And I just, you know, here again is, even if they had done some, been able to demonstrate some experience, we have some really strong candidates to this point. But I didn't rank them very, very high at all.
Okay, other comments, thoughts, and observations?
This is Ruth.
Yes,
it's
Ruth,
really tough because I have not read through this, but I'm grossing out that they would put our municipal logo on every page. It's like we are out there requesting a proposal to brand us, and they're throwing our current brand, which we're obviously not happy with. We wouldn't be, requesting proposals on every page.
What are you
doing? Sorry, I just had to say that.
Oh, that's an interesting perspective. I did not notice that. I was kind of going through and just reading, so I didn't even notice that they had put Sunset Valley on every page. Okay. Other comments? One thing I did notice that right up front, they did say they have a local project manager, and that was something that I found kind of comforting. I'm adapting my thinking now, but that was initially something I thought. And that there are two companies that work together. So that was an interesting partnership. We have that and one other thing so far. Anybody else?
Penny, this is Ruth again. To be
Okay.
fair to them, I just paged through it. They actually laid out a social media strategy, which makes me happy because none of these others laid out anything. They may have mentioned it, but they didn't articulate it. And so I do a lot in social media and web design, so that made me happy. I'll give them I'll let them off the hook a little. They put our logo on everything.
Okay. You know what might be interesting? As I asked John about when he made his comment about the story, maybe what we need to do is ask all of the three top firms, how would they address the social media strategy that we need or want to help promote Sunset Valley?
Yeah, that's a big one in my book
Okay,
anyway.
would you write that question down and send it to me or send it to Sylvia?
Easy, we'd be glad to.
Okay, because I think we're learning a lot tonight of what are some of the things that we think are important as a group, and that's great. So, okay, any other comments here, folks? Okay, if not, then we close out this proposal and we move forward. Okay, and if I'm correct, the next one is thoughtful matter. Thought matter, excuse me, thought matter. Okay, open to the floor.
Penny, can I add one thing to the prior one real quickly?
Sure,
Just
go
because
for
we
it.
kind of didn't spend the
We
time
have
on
5 minutes left.
and this is only as I'm scrolling through it because I didn't get to look at this one at all yet. But just a note, they spent a lot on their budget allocation puts 40 grand out of the 230 against media. So when you look at that in comparison to say ampersand Canalis or resonance, which I think just came in dramatically under budget, leaving us room. That's another
To add to,
that's
yeah.
a big downside to them. They've clearly got like a cost structure that they're anticipating that's going to kind of crowd out our actual media buy. On the plus side, since having just sort of scrolled through, they do the design side. I think the art direction is actually pretty strong. Their set of design samples are pretty well executed and professional and diverse. So some pluses there, but some minuses too.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, and again, just for everybody's input, that was on our previous program, the snack barks and tandem theory. So that was a comment on that group. Okay, now we are back to thought matter.
This is Roger. I'll jump out there first again.
Thank you.
I kind of like thought matters, but the downside of them is that most of their experience, even though they're not local, most of their experience tends to be around regional to them in the New York City area, and I have concerns over the cultural differences that come out of that. Some of the others that are remote to us or in other cities, but have experience with different cities around the country, have demonstrated that they can overcome that kind of cultural approach to things. So that was a worry. That most of their experience was with nonprofit groups like chambers and trade groups, rather than retail centers and that type of thing. And so while I thought they were probably a pretty good agency, they're probably a really great agency if we were somewhere in Long Island.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Roger. Okay, other comments? I had a question about the marketing. They were saying use partner and no implementation till January of 21. So again, that's kind of out there a little bit too, just trying to get everything put together. Yeah, they said they would give other communication partners, they'll give us up to 10 names that we can hire, and that's suggestions for hiring. That was something I looked at and said, we go through one part of the process, we get to know them, and then all of a sudden we're out there looking again. So that was not something I felt was comfortable for me.
Yeah, I feel like schedules are just placeholders, because once they get engaged, they might find that there's just the sense of urgency is much greater. But I really think our RFP and any knowledge they have about the economic conditions would spell out sense of urgency.
Okay. All right. Okay. Comments from the rest of the committee?
I just looking at their sort of who we work with, I would agree with Roger about tone. That I think it would be a choice for us to say we want to bring that kind of their perspective in. They're going to be different. I mean, I'd probably like them, but they might not quite get the flavor of the look and feel flavor down here.
Yeah.
Quite the same. They might not. I think they're clearly like a capable shop. The look and feel stuff throughout this proposal is really quite good. So, but it might. We've got a very particular need here, and we're kind of a weird thing in that we're like a city within the city, and those are details I feel like the firm's got to be able to grapple with.
Penny, this is Ruth.
Ruth, you have the
If
floor.
I just may read page 2's headline, Hi from New York in Thought Matter. I'm sorry, but there's been a really long history of New York and Texas having issues with each other, and to introduce yourself like that was just really, I thought, out of touch with who we are. And so echoing what John and Roger said, concerns over whether they get us.
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of agreed with that too. Now, I do have to say, though, on page 17 of their brochure, they do have a concept of the coronavirus crisis, and they deal with that. So they are thought processing, but maybe not Texas thought processing. So I agree with there. Okay. Okay, we still have 5 minutes. More comments from the rest of the committee? I hope we're not putting anybody to sleep here, are we? Okay. No more comments? Then we're going to move on to Waldorf Publishing.
Well, Penny, to John's point, they certainly knew how to brand a salad, right?
Sure. That was interesting, yeah. So, I agree there. And I think we all agreed there were going to be some very strong ones, and there were going to be some that were lesser getting the true picture of who we are and what our RFP was asking for. So. Any comments from anybody else or the committee? Anybody on the committee?
Hey, Penny, this is Ruth.
Yes, Ruth.
To me, flipping through here, their title says that they're a publishing company.
Exactly.
They're not a branding and marketing and PR and all of that. So that's it.
Yeah.
My
Well,
comment.
I have to be honest. Whenever I was running, doctor's offices, and you put out a request for a position, you're going to get people that go through different things like LinkedIn, and they just send it off to everybody. Well, I kind of wonder if this isn't in that same ballpark. So you have to understand. Yeah. So who else was? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Who was speaking?
Oh, this is Roger.
Oh,
My
okay,
only
Roger.
comment I wrote on my form is why.
Okay, I can see that. So, is everybody else in agreement that probably we don't need to move too much further on this one?
Yes.
Thank you, John, for acknowledging my comment. Okay.
I, yes. Sandy, yes.
Sandy, yes, thank you. Karen?
Yes.
Okay. Clayton? I guess he may have had to make an exit on that. Okay, we've got Roger, we've got John, okay, Ross, are you with us? Okay. All righty. I think that we have gotten to a point here.
I'm here, just muted.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we can move on from this.
Sorry. Okay. So anyway, that means that we have gotten through all 11 of the proposals. It does not mean that everybody has already rated everything. I invite you to go back, take a look at any notes you may have made from our discussions to get a feel for, what your thoughts were, what you think, and go then into your form, which Sylvia, you still have up there, correct? Or you have it somewhere?
Yes, I could bring it.
Okay, this is
the form. There should be one for each of the 11.
yes.
And then you have a cover sheet that is that just
That's the
gives
one. Yeah.
us the summary.
Yeah, and that is online. You can fill in, once you're done with all of your evaluations, you can go through and transfer the number from each company into this sheet and send this sheet then, and you fill them in. It's a database kind of thing. Fill it in, send it in to Sylvia at City Hall, and then we will get them tallied up and come out with a sheet that gives us the totals from all 11 ranked from the highest to the lowest.
I have a question.
Yeah, who am I talking with now? Go ahead.
Roger.
Roger. Okay, Roger, go.
My question is that I put together an Excel workbook that's based upon the forms. So I've got a summary and then a tab for each one of these. Would you prefer that I go back and fill in this work online, or
No.
could I submit that worksheet?
You can submit it. We'll transfer it over.
Yeah, because
Okay.
what these are database. The first sheet that you have there, which is the proposer sheet, that's just a plain sheet. But then we also have a database sheet that gives the opportunity there. That will do the tallying for us and it will rank everything.
Okay.
And then you can manipulate it, go from highest to lowest. So it's probably similar what you're talking about.
And send it to Sylvia?
Yes, send it to Sylvia, please.
Roger, I did the same thing.
Who did the same thing?
Yep, just made a little spreadsheet for myself. Couldn't help it.
Well,
yeah, I couldn't deal with 12 pieces of paper.
And then Penny,
Okay.
this is Sandy.
Yes, Cindy.
What do we do with our worksheets? Do we bring them to Sylvia?
They do have to be destroyed once we're through with the process. So we need to keep them until we're done with the process. Sylvia, can we open a file somewhere in City Hall so that these will be maintained till we're done and then they are destroyed?
Yes, absolutely. We have a different level of open records and records retention here. These will be kept for a few years in a file.
Oh, okay.
You can drop them in the utility drop, you can bring them to City Hall, or you can email them. If you can scan them, you can email them to me as well.
Okay.
This is Karen.
Yes,
And
Karen.
I know I'm getting a little goofy, but where is the scoring sheet that we put everything on? Where do we download it? I see it, but I don't know where we have it.
We sent it in an email. Karen, I can send it to you again.
Yeah,
Okay,
it came out in that email today, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought. Okay.
thank you, Sylvia.
Okay. Anybody else comments so far? Then we'll move on to the next thing. Okay, my next question is, since we have finished all of the proposals and people can go back more informed, and if you hadn't had a chance to go through and evaluate ahead of time, you have that time. Sylvia, when do you want these forms sent to you?
As soon as possible. So it didn't appear that we were going to have a quorum for Friday. I'd like to still post the Monday meeting in case there's any questions or things that clean up that needs to happen. But
Okay.
certainly by Monday, these should be complete.
Okay, I'd like to see them in earlier than that because the next question that I have in my mind is that if we want to have a meeting with the council, and we can make it a shorter meeting, we will have all three of the top three, and then we can go through and do a list of things that we want them to make sure that they include in their presentation or address in their presentation. And if there's any questions from either side on those three, we'll go through that process. Are you guys amenable to it? We have the two options. We can either go send it off to council without this meeting, or we can meet with them jointly and have, and that would be on the 10th. We would have a meeting to do that final finish of what we want on the proposals, or one on the presentations, I'm sorry. What do you guys think? Hello?
Penny, it's John. I want to make sure I'm understanding this. So we're going to submit our grid of scores, and that's going to generate a numerical rank.
Yes.
And that so like that numerical, the top three will be the top three pick.
Yes.
There's no
The
like
top three,
discretionary, or if there's like, if we have like five that are kind of close in score, or like, is there any role for that, or is it just
I
a
had asked
hard
when I
number?
talked to the mayor initially that if we had four, because really when you're talking a half hour, that's 2 hours right there already. And she said she preferred we keep it to three. If we had within 100th of a point, a fourth one, we could do that. That's at our discretion. But I have a feeling that there's probably going to be a kind of a nice delineation just from the discussion tonight as to where things will fall out. So if we come that there is a close number crunch kind of thing, we can look at, that at that point. I'm not sure we need to discuss it and say, well, this is a contingency plan A or B or C. We'll deal with it when the time comes. Okay?
So what's beyond the set of three,
Okay,
what would
the
be the
beyond that
agenda for that
three
meeting?
is an idea. There's two options here that the mayor has approved. Number one, we can go and send that out to the three top respondents and say, we want you to do a 15-minute presentation and then a 15-minute question and answer session. at the council meeting on the 16th. Option 1. Option 2 is to go ahead and have a meeting with the council on the 10th and review those 3 and see if there are any other questions that or things we want them to include in their presentation from both sides, and then move forward to the 16th for the actual presentation. It's just interjecting another a meeting in there where we can discuss some more.
I would opt for having the extra meeting ahead of them coming in so that the firms have the best shot at being able to answer questions and the city council members all feel like they're coming in with context. So I'm in favor of that. I'm happy to participate in that.
Okay, well, I believe, if I'm not correct, Sylvia, correct me, that we invited most of our council or all of our council to be here tonight so they could listen as well. And hopefully they were all able to join us. But I'm game for either way. We can go either. The mayor has approved both options. Do we have, okay, John, can you make that a motion?
Yeah, I'll motion for us to have a hopefully perhaps brief meeting on the 10th to have an open Q&A with the city council and make sure that we're ready for them to get the best possible presentations on the 16th.
Okay, let's keep it a nice simple motion that we will meet and discuss what we want them to present.
All right, my motion is that we meet on the 10th to discuss the final 3 selections with city council.
Mickey seconds that.
Yeah. Do we have a second to that?
Mickey seconds.
Okay, Mickey, we have a motion to meet on the 10th to discuss the top 3 and what we want them to present, anything special we want them to present, and then we have a second. Any more discussion? I think we've talked it through pretty well. No discussion. Okay, I'll call for the vote. Sylvia, it's yours.
John made the motion and Mickey made the second.
Correct.
Okay.
We meet on the 10th to discuss the top 3 and any special things we want to include or questions that we would have. And so that's the motion.
And what time is the meeting?
It would be, well, it would just be a normal meeting, 6 o'clock, right?
6 o'clock, okay.
That's what I'm understanding.
Hey, Penny, this is Lisa Versace. I just had a really quick question for the group.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Penny. I was just wondering if maybe PR was included as a part of any of these proposals. And, you know, I noticed that in the community impact that we had a call out to Total Wine. Is there any way that we can, I know that the scope of work has kind of already been determined, but maybe think about how we're going to approach PR for our local businesses going forward as a part of our marketing effort?
That is definitely something that we can, that I think needs to be included in it. Yes. So most definitely. And again, this opportunity on the 10th, we'll discuss all of these pieces as we've been going through the process. And I'm not sure whether you've been here with us all evening or not, but as we've come up with concepts or comments that I think are really good, that would be something that the presenters could give us information on. We're going to include them to all, or those questions to everybody. So the PR piece, that's again another thing. So write a question up and submit it to me, if you would, or to Sylvia. Okay. Are you with me?
Yes, so let's call the vote.
Okay.
Okay. Penny.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Roger.
Yay.
John made the motion. Ross.
I saw him on, I saw his picture a minute ago.
I don't see him on anymore. Clayton. I don't see Clayton either. And Sandy.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So we will then have that meeting with the council and be prepared to discuss those different comments and any questions that you have that you want the presenters to include in their presentations. We'll discuss them at that time. Okay?
I have a point of information, Penny. This is Ruth.
Yes.
So are y'all CED meeting on Friday as posted on town government?
No, we don't
website?
have to.
So no meeting
Unless,
Friday, no meeting Monday, but the 10th Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we went through the meeting that would have been either Monday or Friday was to finish out the proposals. We've gotten through all of those. People are going to go back to their little offices and finish out the forms. We'll fill it. We'll go forward. We will send back the scoring levels to the committee members, and then we will move forward to notifying everybody and planning for the meeting on the 10th.
Excellent. Thanks for the
Now,
clarification.
if we need time, we'd have to schedule a special meeting for the banner stuff, and we do need to get moving on that. So that's going to have to play in, and I will be sending out emails on that to let everybody know what's going down the road with that. But that is something that we have to work with in the future still. So that I can't answer for you.
Well, you've
Okay.
answered a lot. I appreciate you.
Oh, easy pie. Okay, let's see. We've got this one all done. Okay, and then schedule and call our next regular meeting is July 1st. Now, with all of these extra meetings and stuff like that we will be doing the 16th, we may not need to meet on the 1st. That's right, the weekend before the 4th. I don't know how many people are in town, but we will address that and decide. In the meantime, put July 1, 6 o'clock on calendars in case the regular meeting is needing to be held. But I can't give you any definite answer on that right yet. Okay, before we close, Phil, are you still with us? Would you like to give a brief meeting, resume, or information about the council meeting, please?
Yes. So I'm the only thing between the folks relaxing and having a cocktail. So that's a lot of pressure. Okay. So let me go through it very quickly because it's been for a long night. It was a long council meeting last night. I'm going to talk about 4 things. And these are really the items that took the most discussion time last night. There was a variance request that was approved from AISD to make some drainage improvements. There was some questions about whether they had started work without the permit, and they had, and Sylvia had diligently put a work stoppage on that. The question I asked was, any of the issues, any of the things that they're doing change the direction or of the water flow along Jones Road? I was assured by our engineer, Travis, that it would not. So the variance was granted. The second subject was a refund to the Homestead Barn. They had been charged some time ago an impact fee of approximately $61,000. We're not quite sure whether we had the right to charge the impact fee in the first place, but assuming that we did, we had not done anything with that money to do any mitigation or anything. And so the time had come when they had the right to request that money to be refunded. And council voted on that and approved that the owners of the ban would get a refund of approximately $61,000, which was the mitigation charges they'd been charged some time ago. Obviously, there was discussion on the banners, and there was a lot of confusing motions that went back and forth. But at the end of the discussion, council decided to leave the motion as was approved in the previous council meeting. And then finally, there was a presentation on the water and by Councilmember Gonzalez. She had made a motion that we should hire additional employees to supplement the one person that holds a water license right now. That motion was not approved, and instead the recommendation in the motion was to cross-train existing employees and to coordinate where possible with other cities to see if we could use resources. So those were the highlights there. Sylvia, I think I accounted for them correctly. Did I miss anything else?
Nope, you're correct.
That sounds
Okay.
good.
So,
Okay,
and
thank you, Councilman.
just,
Oh,
and
I'm sorry. Go.
final comment, thank you all for your extremely hard work and patience and perseverance in getting this done. The city owes a big thank you to you. Thank you all.
You can take us all out for dinner later. How's that sound? Anyway, on my side of the barn, I tell everybody thank you. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for doing all the work that you have done. We have, it's monumental when you stop and think about the importance of what we are doing and the fact that we're doing it thoroughly. And everybody is taking the commitment to heart so that we are able to get a good marketing firm. We are going, we are getting back into the ball game again. We've been without how many months, any kind of marketing done for us. And this is going to be a good thing. I think it's going to be, especially with coming back on after COVID-19, it's a very important piece. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And to our visitors, I have no idea how many we have there out there in quiet land, but thank you for coming. And I hope we informed you on some things. If you have questions, you can send them to me. You can send them to Sylvia. We'll be happy to try and field them. Can't guarantee we have all the answers either, but we will find out if there is something that you have a question about. So thank you. And at this time, a motion to adjourn, please.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. A second to that?
I second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Go.
Well, you, whoever the no is, can stay on and listen to talk and talk to yourself all night long. How's that sound? Thank you, everybody, so, so much. Appreciate all that you're doing for CED, for Sunset Valley, and for the good of our community. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good night,
Penny.
everybody.
Good night,
Night.
everybody. Bye-bye.